All right. Gimme time. Go. Five and five. Righty. Tubes up. Mixers up. The tweets are out. Person's chat already. Welcome. Yeah. Okay. Give another 60 seconds as I get a little comfortable here. Fine. Good. This is WrestleCast 23. Okay. Just released episode 36 in for the Retro Gaming podcast. Red Leaf Retrocast. There's that last notification I was waiting for. Yeah, dashboard. Twitch is finally connected. Everything's online. Okay. I'm down here. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be. It is episode 23 of the Red Leaf WrestleCast, brought to you by the Red Leaf Retrocast in general. This is titled Back to the Rumble. We have a lot of wrestling to get through on this episode. Seems the last 2 weeks of January, every wrestling promotion in the world has decided to have major shows, including, finally, our first major show of the year for WWE, the Royal Rumble. Yes, we are finally talking WWE on this podcast for this episode, and then probably won't hear much from the Red Leaf Retrocast regarding WWE until around the Mania season, as is our new format to concentrate on the shows and promotions that other podcasts don't get to generally. So, if you want new artwork done for social media, like what you see here at the Red Leaf Retrocast, it was done by Mace and Craig. Go hit them up on Twitter, twitter.com, Mace and Craig. Did all the artwork you see. And then shout out to GKeeper30 for being the contest winner for the Wrestling Cast. Back in November, he got all shout outs throughout the month of January, including this episode, the last one the Red Leaf Retrocast will be doing for the month. How about that? He was the one that brought us, for our Wrestle Kingdom cast, a nice little retro wrestler spotlight over the Legion of Doom. That was really fun to talk about. So before we get things started here, let's just run through the agenda of what we're discussing on this cast here. We have, before we get to the major shows, we have Defiant and Revolution Pro Wrestling had some shows. Fantastica Mania ended over in New Japan. That is their CMLL crossover event that's annual. Sendai Girls finally watched the show. It was recommended to me. And that's going to be a fun little discussion. I don't think we've discussed Sendai Girls before on this podcast. I want to fix that in 2019 of promotions that we haven't hit on yet. Our Retro Wrestler Spotlight will be over Hacksaw Jim Duggan himself, the very first Royal Rumble winner in WWE. We're continuing our weekly recap of some lesser-known shows, but you've definitely heard of them. It's MLW and Impact. We'll get into WXW. They had a major show in January titled Back to the Roots, one of their older pay-per-view events or major show events. And then WWE NXT UK had a takeover, its first one. NXT takeovers was in Phoenix, and then the Royal Rumble. We'll round the show out with a natural WCW Thunder episode, which will be the fallout from Spring Stampede back in 1998. So how about that? Lots to get over. I'm sure you're already asking yourself, why aren't you discussing Stardom? Because they had their 8th anniversary show, and didn't Progress had a chapter recently? Yes, they did. 2 reasons for that. The first is, this podcast can't cover everything within a certain time frame, and I really want to give things like Stardom more time in this year especially, and there's just so much to discuss. I wouldn't want to just rush through those. They're going to be more featured in the next episode coming up here in a couple weeks. So let's just get into it. Pac has been a busy guy, as we predicted on our kind of Wrestler of the Year podcast, as my cat starts playing with toys right next to me. We predicted Pac was going to have a massive 2019. He's the current Dragon Gate heavyweight champion, the Open the Dream Gate champion, and he made a couple appearances over in the UK, prominently in Defiant Wrestling. He was on Defiant Loaded, episode 6. Yes, Defiant, aka WCPW, what it was formerly known as, has their weekly show. They're back in full swing, and I haven't been completely catching up with it, but our friend over, Jay, over at the Smack It Down podcast, is a fan of Defiant. He lets me know if there's anything worth checking out, and this episode featured David Starr versus Homeboy coming back here in Pac. He got a massive ovation. Just, you know, local indie wrestling star coming home is always huge, so that was nice to see. They did a real nice 19-minute, 20-second match, just filled with a lot of character work in it and just good wrestling. It's worth checking out. It's over free on YouTube. And then David Starr, despite losing, gained the respect of the Defiant champion Rampage. That's been an ongoing story there. Mixture of David Starr can't hang at the top, and Rampage needs new challengers, and there's not really anyone available. So at their next pay-per-view, I believe it's called Unloaded, maybe? I'm probably mistaken on that, but they're going at it. That's nice to see. David Starr earned Rampage's respect and got his title match. So yeah, good match. I definitely recommend checking that out. And then over in Revolution Pro Wrestling, they had another cockpit. You know, just think of it as another Monday Night Raw, if you will. But it's to build new stars. You know, it's kind of their Road 2 shows generally. Build something up, get their local talent some practice in. Well, there was a British heavyweight title match between Zack Sabre Jr. defending against Pac, and this went even longer than the David Starr match. Went 23 minutes 43 seconds. Zack Sabre Jr., his technical style, I mean, and I know it's not for everybody, but you got to appreciate a different style in today's wrestling, especially when it's a lot of balls to the wall, suicide dives every 2 seconds kind of deal. He brought out a different side of Pac I have never seen before. It made Pac show a whole hell of a lot of his technical skills, from ground sequences and strength reversals. And Pac is not a big dude. Muscle-wise, he is, but height-wise, he isn't the tallest guy in the world. He's about my height at 170 centimeters, I believe, or 5'7" for our American audience. So I know that Pac does have some technical ability, but this was definitely a different side. It was more ground-based. Very nice. Zack accidentally kicks the ref at the end of the match in the ropes, so there's your ref bump spot. You kind of figured how are they going to make these two guys still steam strong at the end of the day. So right before Pac was to hit the red arrow, the ref goes in the ropes. The ref calls for a DQ. Zack he plays like he's pissed off at it, and then he walks out. He's like, whatever, I'm still champion. Pac's pissed off. He talks some shit on the mic. Zack Sabre Jr. races back with a chair for a beatdown while his back was turned. And just before the final chair blow to the arm, Ospreay, of all people, saves Pac, looks back all of his shoulder, all dramatic like. Ospreay's really loving doing that lately. I quite enjoy it too. So I think this was a maneuver from a booking perspective that Ospreay wants to save his big money match coming up here at the end of February for Revolution Pro. So I really liked it. Definitely go check it out. Cockpit 37 is where that took place in the main event. Revolution Pro didn't end there. They had their January major show, which was called New Year's Resolution at the beginning of the month. It just went up on their little demand service. And overall, good card. Good show. I can't think of a real bad match per se. The two that stood out was obviously the main event, but I loved the Jay White Chris Ridgway match specifically. The rise of Ridgway continues in the UK, but unfortunately the rise of Jay White is stronger as he got the win. There was a good little sequence where Ridgway is kind of tied up in the ropes and he's just yelling at Jay White while his back was turned. You can definitely go check out that picture I put up on Twitter at BowlingJD, Red Leaf Retrocast. So that was good. Main event was Zack Sabre Jr. defending his British heavyweight title against Shigeru Irie. Very enjoyable main event. I quite enjoyed it. Irie just doing more great work on his Euro tour. He's really taken advantage. And for those again that aren't familiar with Shigeru Irie, he's a DDT guy over in Japan. The goofy promotion generally, but he's known as Beast Mode kind of deal. He's friends and I have been calling him kind of the strong panda bear. But I really like Irie. The more I see from him, he's kind of has this 50-50 booking about him right now. You never know when he's going to win or lose. And he's getting big title matches wherever he goes. So he's getting to be a big deal. He's a very solid worker. You can kind of tell his English is the barrier here when he's working over in Europe right now. But regardless, good main event. I really liked it. Irie's growing on me more and more. Well, moving on. New Japan had their fantastic Mania events, and specifically the January 20th and January 21st shows. They had English commentary, by the way, so you can go check that out in New Japan World. These were, in my opinion, the two best shows. And it was just fun, flippy wrestling. Not a lot of selling, not a lot of storytelling. The exception of the main event of the last night, where Okada and the Guerreros kind of went at it each other. So, I don't watch enough Lucha Libre as I should. I think I used Lucha Underground for that. I'm using MLW for it currently with the demographic they go for. A lot of the wrestlers are crossing over into America more and more right now, so that's nice to see. The wrestlers that stood out at Fantastica Mania were definitely Titan. I've seen him before quite a lot. Templario, more of a stronger based wrestler. Their combination when they were against each other in a 6-man tag on the 20th was outstanding. I really liked it. They molded well together. It was just super fun. I loved the nonsensical Super Lucha 6-man tag of Audaz, Volador Jr., Soberano Jr., etc. in that match. Audaz specifically stood out on this tour the most to me personally. I haven't been exposed to him a whole much. I mean, I know there's the Mysticos and the Caristicos of the world, but Audaz really made an impression on me. Everything he did, my eyes were glued to the television screen, PC in this case. He's very smooth in his transitions. He seemed to work well with anybody he was in the ring with at any given time. Naturally, Volador Jr. is like super fast on the ropes. He always stands out in his matches, but the fact that Audaz, of all people, when he was in this 6-man tag match, or any 6-man tag for that matter, the fact he was able to stand out over these other wrestlers says a lot about his skill. Look out for Audaz. I'm going to be looking for more just matches in my own free time. If Audaz has a match in CMLL on their YouTube channel, I'll definitely just be looking for that specifically. And that's also a good way to get into promotions you're not familiar with. Check out a show. If someone stands out to you and really grabs your attention, you don't have to watch whole shows of these indie promotions or non-WWE promotions. You can follow this wrestler, and then when they face other guys and you're getting invested in this one wrestler that caught your eye, then you slowly branch out from there. So that's a good way to get into these promotions that you may not be familiar with. Barbaro Cavernario, just doing great work in all his matches. He put in a good couple singles performances. He's the future star. He's got a good little caveman barbarian gimmick. Wears the big Flintstone bone in his hair. It's very addictive. He's got great personality, good ring character work. His it's Lucha Libre, so at the end of the day, the ring psychology is not quite there. But Cavernario just seems to have a flow and aura about him that always stands out. He was probably the best performer out of the whole Fantastica Mania, in my opinion, of course. And then, last but not least, from Fantastica Mania, just, oh, yum. When I say yum, it was like I was eating Lucha Libre, and it was just a nice pan-fried meal. Just every time Dragon Lee and Mystico were in the ring together. They're brothers, and they're also the brother of Roosh, if I'm not mistaken. Just give me Dragon Lee and Mystico all day, every day. There's enough said there. I can't speak. There's no words to describe how fun these two guys are. Yes, Dragon Lee probably rubs some people the wrong way because of the injury sustained to Hiromu in last year's Boss J, Best of Super Juniors in New Japan, but he's a very good wrestler. He just comes off your screen, and he always catches your eye. Mystico is very smooth as well. And if Ring of Honor, from what I know, is bringing them in, they really need to put these two in the tag division. It would be a great addition, and just put the rocket on these two. I don't know how Ring of Honor is going to... They have a lot of talent they just brought in. I don't know how they're going to utilize them with their demographic. I don't know how they're going to book them particular. I hope it's just not, let's just throw them in makeshift matches all the time and then call it a story. Ring of Honor always has a lot of negatives with me on that front specifically. It's very milquetoast. I say that a lot about Ring of Honor, but if they're going to bring in Dragon Lee and Mystico, put them in the tag division, have them in an immediate feud with the Briscoes, the legit boss tag team of Ring of Honor, and put a program with them in there lasting a couple months. That's my suggestion. Well, moving on to the very last, just kind of smaller shows that we're going to talk about on this podcast today, is the Sendai Girls January 6th show. Yes, this wasn't the end of January, but again, a lot of these indie promotions, most of them, they're on delays, so you get them like a week or two later than when they're live. So Sendai Girls is Meiko Satomura's promotion. You might know her from various UK promotions like Fight Club Pro, her appearance in WCW way back in the day, 20 years ago at this point, and naturally the Mae Young Classic, where she had a really good showing there. This is her promotion. A lot of people in this promotion are personally trained by her, so you definitely see a lot of the strong style from Meiko in these other wrestlers, and then they kind of mix in their own little personality and ring work as well. Top to bottom, this show was very enjoyable. It's a very good starting place to get into more Sendai Girls. I'll definitely be following more Sendai Girls in the future. But the two match, they have a lot of women's Japanese promotions tend to have the undercard as two things. It's building the younger stars, and then the middle match is kind of a comedy type act where, you're not forcing these wrestlers to go out and put on what they are capable of as much as they so they don't body themselves all the time, basically. Well, they have a junior title, which is fairly new to their promotion. I quite like that. So they're kind of... Sendai Girls seems to be going the New Japan route, and we'll see how it goes from there. But they just introduced the junior title, and Millie McKenzie won their junior title versus a woman named Ayami Sasamura. This match, it only lasted 12 minutes, but it was super fast and super fun. It was a fantastic intro for me to see what this division is about and what Sendai Girls is about. These are two real young women. It really emulated a New Japan junior heavyweight title match to me, which is a very good sign. And honestly, this might have been easily the best Millie McKenzie performance I have seen to date. Ayami Sasamura, it was a great opponent. Millie McKenzie was able to shine. She won the title. Looked really good. There was no rest holds. Everything was pretty smooth. And I believe I read both Millie McKenzie and Charlie Morgan are no longer part of NXT UK, as they both decided that wasn't quite for them. My theory is they weren't going to be featured anyways. So I say it's a smart move on both Millie McKenzie and Sendai Girls for putting the title on her. So Meiko Satomura works with Millie a lot in Fight Club Pro. That's Trent Seven's promotion in the UK. It's one of the older ones. Clearly, Meiko believes in Millie, and I do as well. Great match. I would seek this out. It's one of the best women's matches of 2019 so far. It's gonna be really, really hard to beat that Maya Yukihi Tsukasa Fujimoto title match from Ice Ribbon. This wasn't as good as that, but for a 12-minute fast-paced junior title match, fantastic. And then the main event was a vastly different match. This was Chihiro Mashimoto defending her heavyweight title versus a woman named Sarii, or Sarare. Sare? It's S-A-R, 3 E's. It lasted 16 minutes. It was a good combination of power moves mixed with the speed from Sarie. So I'm going to pronounce her name. If I'm wrong, I apologize. Chihiro is a powerlifter type and has very good ring work. She's, I would call her Meiko Satomura's protege, just with more power moves from that perspective. Really reminded me of Shigehiro Irie, funny enough. Similar moveset, similar build, at least from a man-to-woman perspective combination thereof. I really liked Chihiro Mashimoto. I look forward to seeing more of her. I look forward to seeing more title matches. She stood out. Sarie, I liked her speed. She did pop off the screen well enough. And just from an outside perspective, looked like the right decision was made. So that was super cool. And that does it for Sendai Girls. For now, I will be looking for more events as they go up via, I like to follow Peroso Dream. You can hit them up, or you can see them on Twitter, and this is the best way to get those shows, since they don't have a streaming service. And with that, I think it's time to play a nice little drop, and we can move on to the Retro Wrestler Spotlight of the podcast. Okay, so I would also like to apologize before I start this segment off. I did invite a couple people onto this podcast episode, but due to some scheduling issues, they weren't able to join me last minute, so that's the reason why this episode is going solo, but that's okay. This is, from the beginning, you, the fans, wanted me to do a wrestling podcast, part of the Red Leaf Retrocast. So me doing these solo is more of a pet project, and I really hope you guys enjoy the content. I would love for you guys to hit me up on Twitter at BowlingJD. Use the hashtag Red Leaf Retrocast. Tell me what promotions you would like to see covered more. Tell me how I'm doing. Audio quality's off. Whatever it may be, let me know. And with that, let's get into our Retro Wrestler Spotlight here. And being that it's Rumble season, and being that this guy in particular had, you know, a decent chunk of my childhood as well, it's Hacksaw Jim Duggan. First ever Royal Rumble winner in 1988. Whew, not 98. 1988. Rumble season is always a fun time of year. Even in WWF's worst years, WWE's worst years, I've never missed a Rumble. I always come and watch it. It's always a fun event. If you see any indie promotion and they do a Rumble, it's because of this, and those are always fun as well. Square Go from ICW, Shortcut to the Top WXW, they're always super fun, and this was no exception. Even the 1988 Royal Rumble in particular, even though Jim Duggan won and the stars weren't as, I don't want to say featured, but obviously they didn't know the Rumble was going to be as big as they did. And Duggan won, Mr. America himself. And he was known for a hefty 2x4 block of wood. Is it a block if it's a 2x4? Guess not. Going solo, gotta take some water, make sure the throat is nice and treated. So, Mr. America, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, his other gimmick was being a football player, hence his three-point stance tackle he was well known for, and clothesline. He was an ex-Atlanta Falcons signee at one point, all-American football player, I believe. So, mixing Mr. America with the football, it was kind of a good combo for the guy. And for some reason, he fit that character work quite well. He was always over, and instead of talking about two specific matches, trying something different on this one. Just going to talk about the guy, maybe check out a feud that is worth going back in this case, because Hacksaw Jim Duggan wasn't known for particularly notable wrestling matches. However, he did have a couple few feuds that stood out to me, and I do recommend at least one of these specifically. I personally quite enjoyed the WWF Crown gimmick all, where you're the king of WWF, if you will. If memory serves and research is correct, Harley Race was kind of the originator of this. He wore a cape, had the crown, the whole deal. The Harley Race Jim Duggan feud was a good start for Hacksaw Jim Duggan himself with the whole 2x4 gimmick. Well, trying to put down the smug Harley Race. And the other feud of note, and this is my favorite. This is, if you're to watch anything at all, I remember this specifically from my childhood, and that was the Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Macho Man Randy Savage for the WWF crown. And this is what led to the Macho King gimmick, which I absolutely loved as a child. It probably didn't get over as much in retrospective, but as a child, I was all about the Macho King. I thought it was so funny. I even have a little wrestling buddy from Mattel of Macho King. I loved it. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. No, he wasn't as big as Macho Man by any means, or by any stretch of the means, but this feud in particular was quite fun. Heel Macho Man was really funny. And then there's the notable Defection feud against Ted DiBiase in 1985. This is where Hacksaw Jim Duggan got his iconic 2x4. Was breaking away from Ted DiBiase's, I think it was like the Millionaires Club or something, back in the Midwest wrestling days. Duggan was actually a heel, and besides real late booking WCW, as my cat is just tearing around the apartment right now. Yeah, Duggan was mostly a face. He was Mr. America. That's what he was for. He was never flashy, never really in the true spotlight of it all. He at times had horrid storylines. One in particular that I'll probably never forget was him being the janitor of WCW in the late 90s, early 2000s. Can't really quite remember which month spans that was, but God, it was so bad. He was put off as a hillbilly nobody. At one point, like, he picked up the trashed TV title, and that's how he won a singles title. Man, it was he was usually loved by the crowd mostly, but it was things like that. Being a part of Team Canada at one point, like, I always love good country gimmicks, but you need to book them right. And I don't know, when they shaved Hacksaw Jim Duggan's hair and made him say "Oh Canada," It just didn't work for me. So the late 80s, early 90s was prime Jim Duggan, mid-card kind of guy. The mid-90s, he didn't really have much to do. I believe he was in a short little tag team with Ray Traylor or Big Boss Man. But he was a fun guy, really nice guy. You never read anything bad about the dude. He was just a fun wrestler. Definitely go check out the Jim Duggan, Macho Man Randy Savage, WWF Crown thing that led to Macho King Savage. That's a simple, fun, easy storyline to get into. I quite liked it. Go check that out. And with that, I would love to know what your memories of Jim Duggan were. What you think he should have been. Was his wrestling all that good? I think it was 50-50, but he was a lovable guy. Never had a problem with him. He was always, I think he was booked where he needed to be, personally. So, nice, simple wrestler spotlight today. And we got a lot more to get into. So, I think it's time we break into, for the live stream purposes, you won't hear this, but for the listeners at home or in your car, it'll be probably a good time to play a nice little minute commercial for the Red Leaf Retrocast. And then later you'll probably hear a commercial for another podcast that friends of the cast. That play this drop. Gotta find it first. There it is. Hell to the yes. We're continuing our weekly wrestling recap, and this is interesting. Recapping 2 to 3 episodes, 2 weeks at a time. You can kind of see where stories are heading, how they're playing out a lot more. This is going to be interesting. So, we got 3 episodes of MLW to talk about. We got episode 39 to 41. You can find MLW for free on their YouTube channel every Saturday night. So, January 12th, episode 39 begins with Rich Swann versus Dragon Lee. Fun match. Lee wins via the Dragon Driver when Swann misses his Phoenix Splash. Decent showing. I think with Dragon Lee probably going to be showing up in Ring of Honor. It's going to be like his little one-off appearance, but hey, it was good. Good little fun match. Nice way to start the Saturday night. Sami Callihan is backstage, all turnt. He's all of the turnt. Can't believe it. He's looking for Tom Lawler. Why? Because Zelina De La Renta wouldn't pay him for his mercenary work for failing to take out Tom Lawler weeks back. Good continuity here. I love the yelling in the back. They didn't really show them yelling. It was behind a closed door. But Callahan's all pissed off. He's not getting his money. He's the mercenary. He's going to be looking for Tom Lawler all night. So, after now a couple weeks of build, is the Singapore Cane match of Brian Pillman Jr. versus Tommy Dreamer. So the feud's continuing here between Pillman and Dreamer. You know, vet versus the young up-and-comer. I always like these. If they play out well, how did it play out well? Let's see. Pillman ends up winning via the Singapore Cane, you know, taking it by the sides and running it up underside, if you will, to Dreamer. It was a no DQ match, so it was totally fine. Hits a spinning DDT neckbreaker. Like that finisher, by the way. I enjoyed it from both guys. Dreamer, for some reason, Tommy Dreamer in MLW just fits. And to my knowledge, he's also now a backstage producer and writer for Impact Wrestling going forward, with the signings of Abyss and Sanjay Dutt going to WWE in producer roles. So let's talk about that right fast. You know what? I changed my mind. We're going to save that for when we get to Impact. That's more appropriate. But yeah, Tommy Dreamer loses. I believe even the next week, he says, like, bravo to Pillman, you got one over on me, let's do it again kind of deal. So, there's an ad now for Mance Warner coming to MLW soon. He's a young AAW and CZW guy. We've covered a bit of AAW on this cast before. It's a little Midwest indie promotion. They also head down to Texas every now and again, hit up St. Louis. So that's their kind of region. of AAW. But he's mostly a CZW guy. That's where guys like Dean Ambrose, aka John Moxley, came from. So I'm not a CZW guy myself, but it will be interesting seeing this young up-and-comer in MLW. Who knows? Might be a good fit. Fred Yehai, again, back from his Euro tour. He was in WXW for a little bit. He challenged Low-Key to a match because Filthy Tom Lawler, he's part of that group. He's back wrestling. He's like, Low-Key, come and get it. Well, he got it. Quick match. Low-Key wins easily. And not the best thing in the world. Low-Key, I gotta admit, they've built Low-Key up to be a credible champion. He wins matches. He cuts interesting promos, to say the least, with his real deep voice. But hey, I don't like him. I can't wait till he loses that fucking title. Night ends with Tom Lawler luring Callahan into a large, like, kitchen pantry or fridge area. Because, again, Callahan was looking for him all night. Where's Tom Lawler? Where is he? Well, Tom Lawler beats the living hell out of him in the pantry. Again, I quite like this. They don't actually show the beatdown. It just kind of, you hear it. Tom Lawler comes out with this hammer in hand, and he licks it at the camera. He's like, oh yeah. This was actually a good episode. Quite enjoyed MLW. It's a very simple watch, only an hour. I like it. Let's move on to the January 19th, episode 40. Starts out interesting. I really like, again, how MLW starts out with matches a lot of the times. They might have a nice little quick 2-minute segment here or there, but come on, kitty. What are you doing? You're driving me nuts. Get out. Get off the mic stand. I got a little wrestling match myself here on the podcast. All right. So the night begins with Roosh versus Swerve Strange. Tongue-tied with the triple S here. Roosh versus Swerve Shane Strickland. Memory serves. Shane Strickland was quite pissed off after his title match loss. He was pissed off at management. He wanted to get out of there. Well, we know where he's heading. He's probably heading to NXT. And Roosh is heading to Ring of Honor, which we already know. Well, Roosh wins with a good match, but it felt weird considering both guys are no longer working for MLW. There's that. Ace Romero, big hefty weight himself. God, what's his nickname? The charismatic caramel machine or something. It's quite the funny nickname, but anyways, he defeats a real tiny guy himself, Errol Dominguez. It was a squash match. The story here is more hinting towards a showdown of the super hefty weights between Ace Romero and Barrington Hughes. He's the other large, quite big guy in MLW. Outlooks to a February 2nd match, to where Simon Gotch wants redemption on Ace Romero for making him look foolish. Because Gotch lost to Tom Lawler, he put his little blood money up on the line, the 20 grand. Well, Romero ended up winning, so Gotch wants his redemption. I like the continuity there, and building a new story to where Ace Romero could possibly be heading in the future. So this is good. All good. Ricky Martinez is back from suspension for his little beatdown of, I believe it was Coda Brazil weeks back. Ricky Martinez is the mercenary of Promociones Dorado, and head henchman of Zelina De La Renta. Well, he defeated Gringo Loco, kind of this Evel Knievel white luchador, white man who's got the luchador gimmick. He's putting in some good performances lately. He seems to be a nice mid-carder on the rise. Who knows, maybe we'll see him for the middleweight title picture sooner rather than later. He's definitely over with the crowd, but Zelina De La Renta kind of helps Ricky Martinez out in this match, gets one over on him. Loco came up to the challenge, but alas, he loses. Two good promos of Pillman Jr. on a roof on a children's playground. He's calling out Dreamer, saying the ring is his playground. They can fight anytime, anywhere. Sets up a future February 2nd tag team match where each guy has a mystery partner. I like this. Dreamer, nonetheless, will probably accept this, but we'll see. Other good promo was the second promo was Filthy Tom Lawler setting the stage, if you will, for their title showdown. Finally, low key, 12 months in the making or whatever. You know, Tom Lawler in 2018 won Battleground. It's their big Royal Rumble, if you will. or no, Battle Riot. Oh boy, slip of the tongue. I apologize. So Tom Lawlor cut. I quite liked his promo. It really set this aura about this title match. I don't know. It's non-scripted promos. You know, they might not all work at times, but you get more character work out of them rather than script. Main event, the Hart Foundation defeats the out-of-shape 2002 CM Punks, aka the Dirty Blondes. They have old hillbilly western gimmick, even have a the cowboy manager deal. I think I have an idea of what they're going for with this gimmick, but they're definitely kind of the burial tag team, if you will, of MLW. Just to get other teams over. So Pillman Jr., David Boy Jr., at the end of the day, they make short work of these guys. Old school kind of tag match, really. Maybe Rush versus Strickland should have been the main event, and you start with the Hart Foundation, but they're building the Hart Foundation up for a tag title match against the Lucha Brothers, and I guess this is a good way to do it. This episode of MLW wasn't as good as episode 39, but there was enough continuity there, nice builds, nonetheless. The amount MLW tends to sink in an hour is quite good. Let's see if it continued into January 26th, episode 41. Well, Kota Brazil, mentioned him earlier. He's back after his attack by Ricky Martinez in a nightclub. He has an eye patch, by the way, because his eye was hurt. Good opening match. Post-match, though, gets attacked by... who else would it be? Ricky Martinez. Well, there you go. A little continuity there. I hope Kota Brazil gets one over on the head henchman of Promociones del Rado. Cut to a promo of Tommy Dreamer accepting. Who saw that coming? Brian Pillman Jr.'s offer to another fight anywhere, even if it's in his own backyard. Ooh. Little hint there. Super heavyweight match. Here it is. Oh, this is something. So as hinted in the previous week, we have Barrington Hughes taking on Ace Romero, two 400-pound plus large round men. They even make a note to say the ring has been reinforced to handle all this beef. Not the exact words, but hey, that phrase is kind of going around lately in the wrestling world. It's exactly how you would picture it. But before the match gets going, the Dirty Blondes, well, first the Dirty Blonde manager comes out. He cuts a real lame Southern fat joke promo. You know, basically telling him, you know, I gotta hide all my Halloween candy for next year kind of deal. Whatever. It was cringy. Nonetheless, the Dirty Blondes hit the ring, get DQ'd. It's an impromptu tag match. Play a holla holla. Yep, we got the super hefty weights now teaming up to take on the burial team of the Dirty Blondes. Yeah, hefty weights win pretty easy. So, don't know what they're gonna do here with these two, but it's a spectacle to say the least. Then we get a funny, bizarre couple of promos from Brian Pillman Jr. and Teddy Hart, just doing the most random things. We got Teddy Hart saying, you know, they got their cats in a hotel room, saying cats keep away the demons, hinting at the Lucha Brothers being kind of the undead zombie characters and what have you in the Phoenix. All the way to Pillman chugging a gross protein shake. He's in a hallway of the hotel room. He chugs it, then sprints down the rest of the hall, and Teddy's like, yeah, go get him, guy. I at first thought Pillman was gonna like head immediately to the bathroom and puke and say like, yeah, I'm hardcore. But instead he chugs it, you know, and then sprints to the gym hotel room of all things. So, or the hotel gym. There you go. Funny stuff. I love these stupid little 2-minute promos that Pillman Jr. does, and Teddy Hart, you know, not really the most charismatic guy, but he's, I don't know, it works with Pillman. Pillman's definitely the charisma of the new Hart Foundation. I love Pillman Jr. The better he gets in the ring, the better it is for him and MLW, because he is there up-and-coming star. And I like how they're featuring him, especially getting in this feud with Tommy Dreamer, of all people. It works. So now on to the main event section, if you will. And the story here kind of started at the beginning of the night, but here we go. Zelina De La Renta is pissed off at Sami Callihan for failing to take out Tom Lawler. She sees him as a liability, a failure of a henchman, if you will. Callihan says, "Oh no, am I upset that Zelina is mad at me? No, he did it for the blood money. He's a mercenary. Bring it on." Well, Zelina De La Renta sends La Parka, of all guy, Mr. Chairman, WCW, to take Callihan out in a match. It's a Falls Count Anywhere match. We got a little hardcore action here. Callihan says, "Bring it the fuck on." They meet in this fun hardcore style match. This is very entertaining. No complaints. Especially coming from a guy. La Parka's got the personality. He's got the draw power. I love how MLW knows their audience. They know they want to hit more of the Hispanic, Latino people, and this works. Mexico, at least in the AAA Libra section of it all, they like a little hardcore. Callahan's perfect for this. Good little fun spot to end. La Parka spears Callihan through a nice set of chairs. De La Renta is quite pleased with the work of La Parka, so perfect. Or LA Park, whichever name he goes by this week in this promotion. So 3 weeks of MLW, nice shows. 40 was a little bit on the low end, but 2 out of 3 shows I'm quite pleased with. I like the continuity, I like the stories being built. Hell yeah, MLW, I'm going to continue watching you. We're going to cover more on this podcast. Looking forward to it all. Are we on now? Whew, we got to get going here, but that's okay. I'm enjoying talking wrestling with you guys. Hope you enjoy me and my horribly right opinions. Ha, there's double entendre. Is that a double entendre? Could be. Who knows? English isn't my best language, even though I speak it. But with that, I gotta play. I made all new drops for this cast today. I'm quite excited. Let's get on to Impact Wrestling, shall we? Okay. I like using the theme songs of the promotions before we talk about. Sometimes I'll do wrestlers, but I think since this is a weekly recap, use the promotions themselves. They have a major event, well then, use a wrestler. So, Impact Wrestling, now live on Twitch. I'm subscribed, you should be as well. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot, they do this weird thing where instead of commercials, if you're subscribed, you get a little one-on-one time with Josh Matthews, and the very first one, he's like changing his shirt. Everyone was kind of keeping count. Josh Matthews is definitely playing the Michael Cole role of Impact Wrestling here. If you're not subscribed, like, you can follow Impact and watch it for free on Twitch. I think I might unsubscribe because I almost would prefer the commercials, because then I'd go away, maybe get some more tea or something. And speaking of tea, at least from a drink perspective, I'm going to take a little sip of water. Quite enjoyable. But anyways, let's not pussyfoot around here. Let's get into it. January 18th episode of Impact Wrestling, live on Twitch. We got a cold start of Caleb Connolly getting a jobber entrance. Poor guy. Now that Trevor Lee's gone, the Cult of Lee is disbanded. Caleb Conley's all on his own. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I'm really worried for Caleb Conley going forward. But he's against KM, of all people. And before anything gets going, it cuts immediately to a very pissed off Brian Cage, going just batshit nuts backstage. He's taking his anger to the ring. He's like, "Where's Impact? Where's Johnny Impact?" Because, as we remember, he got screwed at Impact Homecoming earlier in the month because of Johnny Impact's little Survivor Series buddies costing him the match. And then, thoughts on the match, go check out that episode, the Wrestle Kingdom episode where we covered Homecoming. So, he hits the ring. He's taking out everybody. Caleb Conley and KM are not on Brian Cage's level. That much is clear. He even drill claws the ref. That's Cage's finisher. He calls out Johnny Impact for ducking him. What an asshole. And he wants a nut, and he's pissed off that Johnny Impact's getting another match with Killer Kross instead, because Killer Kross, as we remember, powerbombed Taya and injured her, quote unquote. Brian Cage is right. Is Johnny Impact ducking him? I think so. Well, this leads to Johnny Impact coming out. Little scrum happens between Impact, Cage, Kross, and Moose come out. They jump Impact before he's able to officially hit the ring. Cage just simply observes this, because he's not. Why would he help the guy that screwed him out of the title? I love the writing here. So Cage, when Kross and Moose were kind of done beating down Johnny, Cage just simply looks at him and he drags Johnny Impact to the ring by the leg, and then in true heel fashion, Kross and Moose hit the ring, beats them both up. The heels stand tall. So this is kind of this is a number of things here. Yeah, it makes Kross and Moose, because it was two guys jumping one, it makes sense to me. It wasn't a whole lot of heat. Gives kind of that tweener character to Brian Cage. People love him. People hate Johnny Impact. Not a lot of people are behind the Johnny Impact train right now with him as champion. So let's get to some matches now. Ethan Page versus Eddie Edwards with Eli Drake on commentary. This was mostly the Eli Drake telling a story mode for commentary, because ultimately Edwards gets a Singapore Cane DQ, and Drake calls him out for Edwards being a hardcore loser and needs to drop the gimmick to become a winner again. I like the story being told here. I didn't like the match so much, because I'm gonna be honest. Ethan Page can be in any match, and I just really don't give a shit about the guy. I don't know. He just doesn't have the aura. He doesn't have the character. Something needs to change with Ethan Page, because this is not working with me. Well, anyways, we get 3 promo segments here in a row, and this seems to be the format that Impact's gonna go by. They're gonna have some matches, maybe have some storytelling there during these matches, and then they'll have 3 promo segments, kind of setting up the rest of the night. And there's a reason why Impact isn't the best promotion right now. In fact, it might be at its one of its lowest points ever. They're hitting reset mode, but this TV show format that they're doing is definitely working, in my opinion. So we get 3 promo segments. OVE, Sami Callihan and the Chris brothers want to recruit Rich Swann still, which is an ongoing story from they started hinting weeks ago, or at least a couple weeks ago. Trey Miguel from the Rascals are backstage, and he's sad about not becoming the Homecoming King, aka the X Division Ultimate X match. So that was kind of funny. You know, I wasn't quite feeling this whole That 70s show gimmick that the Rascals are a part of, but it's really growing on me, I must say. And it's because, as well as, they're goofy. They're coming across as potheads. It's very 2019, if you will, with a little callback of a famous TV show. But they're also being booked quite strong in the ring. So it's backing them up. They're not just a comedy act. So that's very enjoyable. And then the highly anticipated Scarlett Bordeaux talent search announcement. Something I personally have been very excited for, because I'm not too upset that of her character being, the sexual deviant that she is, and how it's definitely a callback to a more Attitude Era, but she's still coming across as a self-empowered woman, which I think is very important in this day and age. It's not just coming across as let's see this girl strip kind of deal. There's more to it than that. It fits the character work. Well, unfortunately, her talent search announcement is simply herself. So I think Impact dropped the ball here with this one. I get why they did it, because now she's going to start wrestling. I think she could have got not a henchman per se, but someone gunning for the X Division title, or someone that could really get a rub from how popular Scarlett Bordeaux is right now, and her just simply announcing herself as a wrestler when you have a lot of ongoing storylines in the women's division right now. I hope this doesn't like make people get lost in the shuffle. I don't know if this is gonna hurt her character in the end, but I really think she should have actually announced a talent and not just pull the typical "I'm better than" kind of persona. Well, let's move on. Jordynne Grace defeats Dark Alley in a pretty straightforward match here. The story here is post-match. Rosemary hits the ring in a sick-ass purple jacket, reaches out to Alley, but no! Alley jumps away scared. So keep that in mind. Cage versus Moose. So this is continuing on from the beatdown earlier in the night with the heel standing tall. Really nice match. Featured a lot of heel Moose character work and going after Cage's leg. Don't see a lot of limb work from Moose. Loving the heel character, by the way. His heel turn was quite well executed, and he's nailing the character. Eventually, Cage comes back for the Drill Claw victory. Quite enjoyable. So, even though there was heat at the beginning of the show, our number one contender, if you will, Brian Cage, stands tall in the end. So hey, look at that, making your face look strong. Can't say that about a lot of promotions out there. It's always about getting, or at least Western promotion. Put that in perspective there. So another triple promo segment here. Taya saying that she will be cleared next week in Mexico, calling out Tessa Blanchard. Killer Kross asking Johnny how he feels about the fans turning their backs on him. I like the acknowledgement of the fans there. Killer Kross is a killer promo. I love the guy. And he's getting better in the ring. Quite like it. And now, my favorite segment, probably in all of wrestling for January, is the Tessa Blanchard segment. Tessa Blanchard is seething. She is pissed off. She can't stand the fact that she lost her title, and to Gail Kim of all people. She chases off interviewer Mackenzie here. She goes fucking nuts. She attacks everybody backstage. She attacks men, women, cameramen, producers. And then when Gail Kim tries to intervene, she just fucking chokes her out with a cable. Oh, so good. This is how you make your not. We know Tessa Blanchard is a heel, but now she's a badass heel. This is how you make a woman look strong. You make her look like a big deal. This is why Tessa Blanchard was the best woman wrestler by the Red Leaf Retrocast in 2018. She is nailing it. I fucking love this segment. It was great. We come back from commercial break, so good stuff here because she's broken up, and this implies that there's been tons of arguments during the commercial break. Management Scott D'Amore, who looks a lot like J.J. Dillon from WCW days. I don't know if that's on purpose or that's the role he's filling, but it's working. He suspends her indefinitely, and Tessa's just pissed off. She's not having it. She doesn't know, like, in her fuming anger, she doesn't quite know what to do with that news. Well, the hashtag Free Tessa erupts on Twitter. I loved it. Amazing segment. Honestly, the probably best I've seen since the Becky Lynch invasion on Raw. So now Rich Swann defeats Trey Miguel in a singles match. Fine. LAX defeat OVE in a tag match. Also fine. Show closes out with LAX and the Lucha Bros being backstage, and before going off the air, Ortiz kind of yells at the Lucha Bros in the distance, if you want to get your ass kicked again, let's go ahead and do it. And Conan just what? Conan's like, what are you doing? So very good first episode to bring Impact on Twitch TV here. So January 25th, not as big as the Fallout episode coming from Homecoming. Show, let me get my bearings here. Okay. Came from Mexico City. They were kind of hyping that up a little bit. Begins with X-Division champ Rich Swann versus Hijo del Vikingo. He's a luchador Viking gimmick. Fair enough. I quite like him. I've seen a few matches from him. He's good. Good little luchador. Both look great. Story here is OVE then comes out, makes a convincing family argument for Rich Swann to join them. You know, Callahan kind of hinting that if it wasn't for him and OVE and getting Swann the job at Impact, that they'd be pretty much on the street. Swan leaves, but he doesn't say no, and Callahan makes a point of that. There was a little segment later where Mackenzie finds Swan, and Swan's like, well, he's right, but there's more to the story. So I quite like this little story going here. Callahan going into the X Division is something I think is a good place for him. Melissa Santos, you might know her from Lucha Underground, makes finally her appearance as a new backstage interviewer. I hope she also gets the point for the ring announcer. Maybe even pulling off a little interview in ring segment via Gene Okerlund type. So I like Ms. Melissa Santos. I think she's a rare commodity. I would like to see a little bit more of Alicia Atout come back in some form of fashion. I think she was really good in Impact. I wonder what happened to her. Haven't looked into it personally. So Melissa Santos interviews Killer Kross. Kross and Moose basically say Johnny Impact and Cage need to be careful. TikTok. Simple enough. Another interview it now takes place with Kiera Hogan and Jordan Grace. How they're going to have another tag match versus Su Yung and Dark Alley. Not too crazy about that one, but it goes with the story, I suppose. That's another case of I don't think that should have been on the Homecoming pay-per-view. But before they can actually talk about Rosemary coming into the picture, a message, there's a little paranormal activity going on. Message comes across the board in the back saying, quote, "The darkness will soon take you too. This is not your fight. Signed, R." End quote. So pretty cool. A little ominous. I like what they're doing with Rosemary. They're kind of slowly bringing her back. She's not totally wrestling right away, being inserted into this storyline quite slow instead of just right away. Here we go. Not an A+ segment, but I like what Rosemary's role is. Jordan Grace being kind of inserted in this. I don't know. I guess they just need to find a place for her. Or women's champ Taya Valkyrie faces off against Keira, Aeyra, newly signed to AAA Libra, by the way. Great showing from Keira. Taya, not so much. I think her ring work's been subpar. But Keira, I liked it. There's a nice gif of her doing a Shibata dropkick and just taking Taya's head off. I love that part. So Josh Matthews then gets in the ring and lets Taya cut an okay promo. It was bilingual, which was very cool. So I can see why they're doing these Mexico City and Mexican dates and having Taya as champ, the bilingual. From that perspective, it's quite smart to have her as champ. But man, what are they doing? What are they doing with this? Because Taya is just not, to me as a fan, she's not coming across as the champ. You know what I mean? Especially not to the extent that Tessa Blanchard had. There's a funny backstage segment where the Rascals, where Trey and Desmond don't know where they are. They think they're in Canada, which is quite funny. Then Zachary Wentz says, overdubbed in Spanish, like a Godzilla dubbing type thing, that they're actually in Mexico. Naturally, Trey and Desmond are so high, they kind of freak out. And like, how'd you do that? And Zach just tells them to read the subtitles to understand. Kind of fourth wall breaking. This segment made me laugh quite a lot. Then we get a sexy workout video of Scarlett Bordeaux. Wrestling coming soon. This video on Impact's YouTube page and Twitter just kind of exploded. It's quite funny. I wish she was working out with her actual talent search person that if she so would have picked somebody, but hey. Rascals are in a tag match versus the Desi Hit Squad. You know how I feel about the Desi Hit Squad. I think they're bland toast. Not even milk toast. They're just beyond that. But nevertheless, Desi Hit Squad finally had a good showing. Rascals win. There you go. Cut to LAX backstage, and Conan says next week he's got these two new guys, Daga and Toros, coming in. So a trios match is going to be set next week. Lucha Bros with Toros, LAX with Daga. See what happens here. Maybe Lucha Bros get one over. Maybe Toros pins Daga. Who knows? It could do a number of things with this match. So with that, Conan is actually taking the place in creative of Sanjay Dutt in Abyss, because now they're in producing roles in WWE. So maybe this is Sanjay Dutt does a lot with Impact and Abyss, being the vet that he is. Having Conan and Tommy Dreamer come in to be the new producers, I'm gonna see this as a good thing. We could get some very interesting storylines here, more luchadors possibly, more crossover between AAA, Libra, and Impact Wrestling. This could be very good for Impact Wrestling going forward, rather than seeing this as a negative. So, Ethan Page versus Trey Miguel are in the ring. God, I don't care about Ethan Page. Crowd didn't care either. Match just didn't flow well. It was pretty slow for seemingly no reason at all, with this random Ethan Page character work that just didn't seem to fit. He even yells at the camera, "Are you watching?" I'm like, okay. Trey wins, moving on. He lost anyway, so who cares? Main event title match, Johnny Impact versus Killer Kross. Match was better than their 2018 title match they had. I think that was in October, right before Halloween. It could have been in November, before Thanksgiving. I can't quite remember. It shows how much I cared about that match. But anyways, ends in a DQ via Brian Cage hitting the ring. The story there was he was supposedly, quote-unquote, stuck in immigration, but hey, he made it anyways. Brawl ensues. Seems we are on a collision course for a triple threat match, which has kind of been the big hint here going forward. Very WCW-esque kind of ending here, but hey, I'll take it, I guess. I liked the Fallout episode a lot more. This one was just okay. Did like the ongoing stories, so Impact is doing pretty good to start off, at least from the TV show perspective. Pretty good from starting from scratch the way they are. Well, anyways, we're at an hour 4 here. Now to the major shows, which, oh boy, this is very exciting. I'm gonna start off with some hot damn hot damn WXW. Alrighty. WXW, my favorite promotion that I like following. I love talking about it. I love trying to get people to watch it more. This is no exception. This is a big show that was built. It's back to the roots. God, they must be on 28 or something right now. It's been going on a while. Or 18. Maybe not 20. I think its promotion's been around that long. Back to the roots. Running down the card, it was very simple. Lots of good build here. If you listen to our previous episode, the episode 22, the Wrestle Kingdom, we did Road to Back to the Roots and 18th Anniversary. A lot of continuity. It was all building to this show. And boy, did we get a good show. From bottom to the top of the card, everything delivered to about what you would expect. Opening match was King of Smoke Style himself, Bobby Guns, got his mojo back, finally defeating Shigehiro Irie. Irie's back, boys. Well, this was their third encounter. Irie, the story, just to recap the story, Bobby Guns could not beat Irie. He couldn't overcome the Japanese style of Irie, so they faced the third time. Good match, straightforward. Bobby Guns wins. He had his brother ringside, kind of cheering him on, which is quite cool. Crowd was into it. Second match, Avalanche versus Jurn Simmons. It goes to a quick double count out. They didn't really mess around here too much. The Crown and Jurn Simmons' Avalanche have been going at it for a month now, even 2. I might remember. But Avalanche was just pissed off. He didn't want this match to just end in a double count out. They have so much more to get off at least his chest. Even producers and people were holding him back. Avalanche even cut a promo afterwards, being like, "This is nonsense. Why'd you count?" He looks at the ref. "Why'd you count to 10? This is bullshit." And the ref just kind of looks at him. "Those are the rules." So this feud isn't over. Next match, JFK versus this makeshift team of Ring Comp. It's Walter and Fight Mueller. Fight Mueller screws up the win. Oh. Walter is very, very frustrated with him. JFK does look strong. They did just lose their tag team titles, after all. So this is good for them. Fight Mueller disappointed Ring Comp, especially Walter. Let's see what happens going forward. It was okay match. It was fine. Had its place. David Starr versus Timothy Thatcher. Starr, as we know, has a title match coming up in London as WXW goes there. Road to 16 karat gold. So, and Thatcher's on a little bit of a winning streak. Even beat Walter at a couple shows ago. And perhaps Thatcher's being groomed for a #1 contender type thing. But first, David Starr needs to make sure he keeps his momentum going forward. And he gets one over on Thatcher. He reverses Thatcher's new little like double underhook pin that he's been doing to beat people. David Starr kind of saw past that and got one over. So I liked it. WXW women's title match. It's Melanie Gray. Very pissed off, by the way. She kicked the shit out of Toni Storm at Road to Back to the Roots. Toni Storm has had enough of her. She goes, this is a loser leaves town match, along with the title match. I'm sick of you, Gray. We're going to settle this. And, you know, if wrestling history tells us anything, we know that Toni Storm signed with NXT UK. We know this has been coming for a while. Loser leaves town match. History says Toni Storm loses. Well, shockingly, Toni Storm beat Melanie Gray. They went 12 minutes. This was like the Millie McKenzie junior title match. This is the best match I've seen Melanie Gray. A lot of strong style shown here, especially the Euro version. Melanie Gray pulled out all the stops. She wanted to win this match, but alas, Toni Storm still won. What the hell does this mean? Are you kidding me? I was talking with Jay from the Smack It Down podcast. We were all just like, yeah, Toni Storm's gonna lose. This is predictable. Sad to see her go. She's the one that kickstarted the whole women's division in Germany being what it was, or at least in WXW. Maybe the German promotion out of Berlin might have something to say about that. But anyways, Toni Storm fucking won. Holy shit. Melanie Gray had her nose busted open at one point. There was even a nice little post-match thing where Killer Kelly gets in the ring because she's had her history with Gray as well, kind of tosses her a tissue. Even the audience kind of chuckled at that moment. And Melanie Gray just kind of kept her head high and walked out. Killer Kelly looked perplexed. Even Toni Storm kind of looked over her shoulder like, well, shit. Melanie's gone. One of the table legs of the women's table support, if you would. Not the best analogy there, but nonetheless, holy shit. Shocked. Well, anyways, moving on. It wouldn't be Back to the Roots without a Kayfig Schlacht. Cage match in German for our English listeners. It is finally time for Rise versus Rise. Original Rise, Pete Bouncer, Lucky Kid, Ivan Kiev. Against the heel Rise, the new one, of Marius Al-Ani, Tarkan Aslan, and Damak, who returned. Well, as we know, Al-Ani is the Shotgun title champion, your mid-card. And Mack and Arslan are the tag champs. So, the stipulation here, it's a cage match. It's under War Games rules. That'll make it simpler. You can only win via submission. A new person comes in every couple minutes. And all the titles on the line. So, let's say if Lucky Kid pins Al-Ani in this match, he would be the new Shotgun champion. The tag titles would not go to Rise as well. They would stay because they weren't pinned. Or they didn't submit. I'm sorry. The match can only be won via submission. Misspoke. Match goes for about 24 minutes. There was a pretty cool history of the stable Rise Nice little video package prior. Shows Chris Colon and Bad Bones John Klinger kind of starting the promotion, building it up. Shows how Klinger won shortcut to the top a couple years ago. The fallout of it all. Good stuff. I quite liked it. It was nice to see. And what was weird was the baby faces ended up having the advantage. And yet this match still flowed well and was very exciting. The first few people that came, Lucky Kid and Arslan actually started the match, surprisingly enough, with their history. And a new person would come down with a nice little weapon. I believe Bouncer came down with a bat. I think DeMac came with a chair. So there was some cool little hardcore spots in there. It never dragged. It was very simple. It stuck to the story. Kiev even hit the ring and did a crossbody off the top of the cage. Got a good big pop. Yeah. Nice story here. How Lucky Kid gunned to All Ani the whole time because he wanted the shotgun titles. There's continuity there. Ends with Tarkan Aslan tapping out. And Mac and All Ani are extremely pissed off at him. So Bouncer and Kiev are the new tag team champions. Gives them credibility again. They get to keep the name Rise. That was another stipulation. And it looks like the new Rise, Arslan, Mac, and Al Ani, are all going their separate ways. At least, that's the way it looked. They weren't happy. They all ditched him in the ring. Like, you son of a bitch tapped. You lost us the match. You are clearly the weak link. Maybe that's what's going to happen. Mac and Al Ani stay together, and Arslan's out. Who knows? Good stuff. And now for the main event. This match had the most questions about it. What's Nick Hine, UFC fighter, special guest referee, what's his role going to play? Because at 18th anniversary, I believe it was 18th Annie, when Nick Hine was introduced, Andy gave him an F5. He kicked him in the dick. Andy got a huge pop for kicking the hell out of Nick Hine. Nick Hine was supposed to be a babyface, as far as I could see, is that way he was presented. Ilya Dragunov, they have a huge history. The title hasn't been hot potatoed because Andy, kind of feigned injury, quote unquote, and that led to the whole interim title picture for about a month and a half, and Andy got it back. But hey, this is their kind of blow off match finally. Ilya Dragunov seems to be signed for NXT, so he seems to be heading stateside. Not NXT UK, strangely enough. At least that's from what I know. The first 9 minutes of this match were fought outside the cage, and this was their way of bringing tables and lots of chairs into the ring. So then for the next, when they fought outside, Nick Hine, eventually got super pissed off at Andy. He's like, let's take this shit in the ring finally, come on. And the next 25 minutes of this 34-minute match were in the cage. Plenty of hard hitting, plenty of cool little spots, and this was subtle enough. It was obvious enough at the same time where Nick Hine seemed to be pretty slow for all the counts, but particularly slow for Ilya Dragunov. There was one moment where he was a bit fast for Andy, but I don't know if this was kind of playing hints to a story, or they were playing towards, he's just a special guest referee, he's not going to be as good kind of deal. That's what I was thinking of when I was watching this. But you did notice this. Near the end, we get some prime WCW type booking here. All Ani, of all people, with his history, his blood feud history with Absolute Andy, and even going back to Road to Back to the Roots with that tag match where they didn't get along and then they finally did, kinda. All Ani comes to the ring and hands Andy a bag of tacks through the cage, and then they fist bump. So what's the story here? Is A4 back together? I don't know. Maybe the fallout of Arslan's rise. Maybe All Ani has accepted that Andy is still his mentor, after all. Still playing off that role, because that was what A4 tag team was all about. That's the story there. So we got a little, Gargano-type Ciampa thing going here for our WWE fans. it's come full circle almost. So before Al-Ani is thrown out ringside, he's just thrown away. Nick Hein isn't going to have this kind of interference in this match. Al-Ani breaks the cage door lock, you know, with a little bolt cutter type thing. Hein throws him out, and during this confrontation with Hein and Al-Ani, Dragunov somehow got the tack bag from Andy, spread it all over, gives Andy a nice little spot of hitting the tacks, and there's some more spots there. Dragunov's crawling to the cage door because he sees it's open, and Nick Hein turns around and slams the cage door into Dragunov's face. Andy hits him with the Dominator. Nick Hein does a quick pin, mind you. Seems we have a new group formed, perhaps. Reunified heel A4, plus possibly Nick Hein. Maybe even Damac joins in if they're just looking for a new leader. How about that? I mean, you kind of got some hints in the match. Prior to the pay-per-view, you would think Nick Hein, with getting F5'd and kicked in the dick by Andy previously, that he wouldn't be with him. But then in the match, a different story was kind of subtly being told there. And so you were kind of 50-50 in your head, like, oh, come on, isn't it obvious he's going to do it? And then you're like, well, Andy beat the hell out of him, so maybe it was just a spot that Andy and Hein had played out. Nice little heel fashion there. So, post-match, Nick Hein gets cocky. He tries to put Ilya through a table that was that he set up. Ilya reverses, got some revenge on him. He puts Nick Hein through the table. He stands tall to close the show. He's obviously not happy with the double crossing. Very good pay-per-view showing here. I really enjoyed my night. This was good. I was hyped for Back to the Roots for all the build that was done. 18th anniversary was an okay show as well, but this was oh man, was this the best one since Fan Appreciation Night 2? 1? Yet. Shortcut to the Top was also good. WXW's on a roll. I never really have much to complain about. This one in particular, this Back to the Roots showing, definitely beat the 2018 Back to the Roots. Like, no question. The stories here all fit. The matches were good. Yeah, the undercard was a bit average, so to say, but everything served a purpose. The 3 matches of the night, the WXW title match, your Rise v. Rise cage match, and your main event, I think all knocked it out of the park. Yeah, B+ pay-per-view, man. Man, if the talent pool was as good as it was, say, in New Japan or WWE or even Ring of Honor, a ton of talent there, this could be easily the best promotion in the world. It's just it's in Germany, it's a very small market, doesn't get any buzz because it's Germany. Hey, I say go out and give this promotion a try. I've been hooked for a few years now. I'm even in my free time when I watch old stuff, refamiliarize myself with it. Hell, there's a reason why WWE has snapped up every major star built in WXW. Ilya Dragunov, Walter, Alexander Wolf, Tommy End, aka Aleister Black. They're Axel Dieter Jr., aka Marcel Bartel. There's a reason why these guys have been snapped up. WXW knows how to build stars, build characters. They know what they're doing over there. Even with Christian Mikhail Jacobi on his temporary leave, I hope it's not permanent. Tassilo Jung, the main referee and producer there, and company, they seem to be going down the right path. Good stuff. Ooh. I don't know if David Starr is going to win the title in London against Absolute Andy. All I know is the Eagle is still champion. I'm a believer. I didn't believe in Andy all of 2018, even after he won 16 karat gold. I was like, my God, this heel, he's out of shape. He's yeah, sure, he's the veteran, but he's made a believer out of me. Why should I doubt him anymore? He's right. He's been right about everything. Yeah, he's a dirty, cheating heel, but he's our dirty, cheating heel. He's the Eagle. We should all be Absolute Andy fans. I'm very much looking forward to the London show now. I don't know how the rest of the card is going to play out, but that main event of David Starr versus Absolute Andy, we unfortunately missed out on it due to injury from 18th anniversary. See what happens here. We might get this new faction of Absolute Andy on top. A4 Rise, or whatever you want to call it, however you want to call it. I don't know what Damac's going to do, but I'm very, very excited and filled with anticipation. Well, it's time. It's time. No, it's not Vader time. It's WWE time. Means the very first NXT UK takeover. Play this drop and we get going. Okay. Haven't talked about WWE in some time, and this will probably be the last time we'll talk about a major show until Mania season. So, NXT TakeOver UK. NXT UK, I've had my issues with. I think a lot of the characters are diluted. WWE has made them very generic in sense. Oh, you're not in the UK. You're a dirty foreign heel. That's what you're gonna be. I'm from Scotland, therefore I am the bad guy. We are forming a Scotland stable. In concept, it's cool. The execution's been very bland. They're like 24 episodes in now. They've had plenty of time, but they just seem to be hoarding a lot of the UK talent, the European talent. Well, how did the first takeover go? NXT seems to know what they're doing, especially when it comes to takeovers. They always knock it out of the park. Did the UK take over Blackpool? Did it live up to expectations? Yes and no. I have a lot of positives to say about it. I think the show overall was good. I think it was good. I had fun, but there were things that stood out to me because I've seen all of these guys that are signed by NXT UK and what they're capable of outside of WWE for quite some time. I've seen their character work. I've seen their ring work. I've seen the feuds. Did it live up to those expectations? Did WWE dilute them too much for me to not enjoy the matches themselves? Do I see a future with a lot of these guys? Well, let's get into it. So, first off, the WWE has this set of mind, okay, where they just can't seem to break away from how they go about things from a production standpoint and what you're going to do in a match and how long these things are. You're not allowed to be creative, okay? That can't be disputed. You see it constantly. This show was an example of that on two fronts. So, A, you're going to go out by this set script, whether it's a good idea or not. Okay? So there's a little positive, negative perspective there. Because sometimes the script could be good, sometimes it could be bad. I think that's also undisputable. But the fact that you can't get creative or call audibles, unless injury, generally, is a detriment, I think. So, B, they don't get characters. They just don't get them. They take the characters away, and there is times for reinvention. However, in this case, there is a lack of knowing the audience. They want to appeal to this wide range of audience, the casuals, if you will. But they don't get over. So taking away the characters that are over on the UK scene, because who's going to these shows at the end of the day? The UK fans. They're the ones that are in the seats. They're the ones paying money for the house shows. Shouldn't those be the people you appeal to? The character is already made on the UK indie scene. These people going to shows are mostly not the casuals. The UK has a stigma about it still. Even more so than most other places. Germany has a huge wrestling stigma. That's why it's even smaller. So, I have two examples of characters here. Of what's happening. First example is Toni Storm. Being who she is, she simply gets over with her ring work. And what she's capable of. Literally everywhere. Japan, which is hard to do for a foreigner. Germany, she's massive there. At least at those shows. The UK. She gets over. But I can already see the gears turning on a number of fronts where she's going to spend way too long in this developmental, if you will. And when she finally appears on WWE TV, they're going to have watered her down so much and changed her into this glamour model, if you will, which she doesn't fit. She doesn't fit that idea. She has this punk rock, young, up-and-coming, Spitfire character that a lot of people just love right now. And if she spends, when she spends too much time in NXT UK, if she finally gets to the main roster, that term, Raw and SmackDown, the appeal's gone already. She's going to fall flat. From a ring perspective, Toni Storm nails it out of the park. She's got good technical skill. You don't see that in WWE. I'm already worried about that part. Because a lot of the wrestlers that she's being put up against don't complement that at all. They aren't capable. They aren't being trained the way Toni Storm was trained. Toni Storm's on a way different level. She's capable of Raw Women's, SmackDown Women's Champion right now, and she would get over. However, you could also make the argument that Toni Storm is just the UK version of Bayley. We saw how WWE books baby faces and what they do with them. So take that for what it's worth. I'm just really worried for Toni Storm going forward in NXT UK. They did put the title on her, which I think is a smart move, so we'll see. I hope I eat my words. I'm still vastly worried about what NXT UK is going to do with their women's division going forward. Example 2. Finn Balor and Jordan Devlin. This was originally supposed to be Jordan Devlin versus Travis Banks. Okay? Jordan Devlin is the Irish ace, basically, last couple of years. He's built up a megastar persona over there. And when he comes to the UK, he's the killer import. He's the import killer in Ireland. If you're a foreigner, you go to Ireland, you get beat up by Jordan Devlin. And he has this cocky, just, I'm a badass persona. And yes, to an extent, we have seen flashes of that. And they seem to be building Jordan Devlin into that. They just took too long to do it for this particular event. And so Jordan Devlin's story here was he took out Travis Banks. So they're gonna, they're gonna continue that later. And for some reason, they go, hey, we had a plan for that. Finn Balor comes out to an ovation. Holy shit. He wasn't Finn Balor. He was goddamn Prince Devitt again. And Jordan Devlin got offense in. I personally think he's the more complete wrestler than Finn Balor. But Finn Balor's the star at the end of the day. No surprise Finn Balor did win this match. Was this necessary to be against a guy like Jordan Devlin? Especially when the comparisons, and I see casuals and WWE fans doing it, where he's just Finn Balor light. I see that phrase all the time. And to now put him up against Finn Balor directly, yeah, I get it. Finn Balor trained him. They know each other. I don't think it's good for Jordan Devlin's character to be immediately thrown into a match like this against Finn Balor when he gets those comparisons. I think that only hurts him. And people are only going to look at him like a Finn Balor light. And look how Finn Balor is on the main roster, on Raw. He's awful. He's a geek, he's a mid-carder, he's an undercard. Nobody. Like, he's still super popular with fans, but we know what's happening. So I don't agree that Jordan Devlin should have been put in this situation. I think it hurt him. What they do to build him back up is very important. I personally won't be watching it. I'll just be kind of reading about it. We'll see. So where's the problem with this then? Well, Finn Balor, first of all, he's no fucking smiling. His typical deck of cards, watered down moves were essentially gone. That was good. It's just not even close what we saw here. And now you take Devlin in OTT compared to here. Devlin commands respect. He gives and wants fights. They seem to have an Irish guy in the UK simply made into a chicken shit foreign heel. That's just from what I've read. It's just that mindset formula. And Devlin isn't the only example of that either. It's the same with Joe Coffey. So, let's get on to the rest of the card here at NXT UK. Now, those are just points I want to make clear. For the title match, tag title match, inaugural champions of NXT UK, we have the Grizzled Young Veterans versus Mustache Mountain. Sure, it was your atypical WWE style tag match up until about a halfway point. Not a bad thing. You know, you can have good setups where the heels are beating down the face and the face gets a hot tag. You can have good tag matches with that formula. Not saying it's not. It's just very atypical of WWE. But these guys know each other so well, because I've seen them go at it in Progress a number of times. This wasn't a new match to me. They just know the British technical style and what the audience is used to. And then the second half was super hot fire. There were 3 hot tags, which is real weird. Did have an issue with that. But hey, despite that, this match was fire. This was what you'd see, the second half particular, was what you'd see from both teams in like Progress or OTT as examples. Grizzled Young Vets do get the win, as the story told here, at least from my perspective, was bait. They just couldn't keep bait away long enough to get the pin, until finally Grizzled Young Veterans do a tope doomsday device on him, and then they hit their finisher on Trent Seven for the win. I think this was a great match, great decision booking. It makes GYV credible champs immediately. You built a tag team. This was good. This was good. You got to see a lot of Tyler Bates' character work in there. Trent Seven with some comedy. Grizzled Young Veterans look like a strong heel tag team. Good. Then we got Dave Mastiff beating Eddie Dennis in a no DQ match. The big guy's already put down already. Everyone knows how I feel about Eddie Dennis. It was a match. Fine, I guess. Toni Storm, as I mentioned earlier, beat Rhea Ripley for the UK Women's title. Best match I've seen out of these two, out of the 4 they've had now, for sure. I wasn't a fan of the simple kind of Storm pulling Ripley's hair for the finish. I don't know what their idea is with that. Maybe it's to say Ripley can say, Storm, you only beat me because you did an illegal hair pull. I don't know. Storm is very much so the more complete and better wrestler. She's a pure babyface. So now this gives time for Rhea Ripley to improve her game specifically, because I still think she's pretty green in a lot of aspects of her game. It's still strange, though, from the other perspective, that they took the title off her too soon. Or so soon, rather. But again, I think it's probably the smarter move to have Toni Storm, of all people, as the champ. You can build... As we've seen with WWE, it's easier to build a heel star than a babyface, and Toni Storm's already the big babyface star. They don't have to do anything. Really worried that they're going to make her talk a lot, and Toni Storm's not the best promo in the business. She's very, she gives a nice little shyness to her. I think that's a good part of her character as well, and it's natural. Main event time. Oh boy, where to begin? Okay. Pete Dunne defends against Joe Coffey. UK title match. Pete Dunne is a fucking star. He is a master of what he does, and he's only getting better. He's getting to be a top 10 talent in the world, the rate he's going. Him and Tyler Bate both. Pete Dunne specifically has a character aura about him, where he can kind of do a both heel and face persona at any given time. I wouldn't even call him a tweener character, that in-between, the badass. This match, it went 34 minutes. This goes on to that mindset where WWE wants this long classic be their first one, real memorable. It really felt like it was 34 minutes. Noah does this a lot, especially with a Sugiura match, where they feel the need for it to go long, when any other promotion will say, this guy's in this match, he can't do 34-minute epics, 34-plus minute epics, 30-plus epics, whatever. Let's not do that. Let's make it 18, 20 tops, right? And I really think this match peaked at that 18, 20 marking. Maybe 22 at the best. Because there were moments where it felt like a main event, a big match feel. You know, Pete Dunne being like, oh my god, Joe Coffey standing tall in the middle, come at me, brah, kind of deal. They're fighting in the middle of the ring. That's cool. However, there was so many instances where Joe Coffey, specifically Joe Coffey, not a lot, I didn't have a lot really, if any, negative to say about how Pete Dunne performed this, but Joe Coffey specifically, where he would miss spots. Joe Coffey has this bad habit where once he crosses the threshold where he's shown you his moveset, a good wrestler will kind of do a variation of these moves, or they'll start to be reversed, or you start seeing moves you don't pull out very often. Joe Coffey has none of that. That's his problem. If he's in a 15 to 20 minute match, that's when he's capable of being at the top. That's an ICW Joe Coffey. WWE Joe Coffey, as we saw in this match, not so much, because his bad habit is he telegraphs every fucking move he's gonna do. And it's noticeable enough where you go, he's gonna hit this one. All right, this one's gonna be reversed. He does his moveset, and then you go, okay, he's just gonna go through it once more. Almost like it's like, okay, I did a clothesline here, I did a shoulder tackle here. I'm gonna go forward, but this one's clearly gonna be reversed by Pete Dunne. Like, it was just so obvious. It was just, oh my god, just end it, because you can see it all. You know it's not gonna be this near fall, quote unquote, is just gonna be kicked out of. It doesn't get you popped. Not to mention that they did like 4 finishers and they kicked out of all of them till finally Pete Dunne did pull out his armbar breaking of the fingers tapped finisher that he's been doing lately. So I did see some comments like that was weird. Not really if you pay attention to Pete Dunne in general. So was this better than their 2017 ICW feud? The feud itself? No. The match? Yes. And I think that has a lot to do with Pete Dunne just improving so much over the past year, and 2 years especially. Joe Coffey's still that same wrestler. That's where the match reached that next level kind of deal. So unfortunately, this is just like that 3.75 type match, you know? It was good in spots, very boring in spots. Joe Coffey was definitely, I think, holding this match back from being that next level classic that WWE wanted this to be. And it wasn't, in their minds, it wasn't going to be more than that, or it wasn't going to be any less than that. So post-match, in celebration, Walter's music hits. Amazing pop. Crowd knows who he is. There's no question he's like the king of Europe right now. 2018 was a massive year for the guy. He's been good for years, but now he's in NXT UK. He's been finally signed. He has apparently a special contract where he can still work his indies. He can be champion. So whoever takes the title off him, in like OTT and Progress. Holy shit, they're gonna be stars. At least they should be. But yeah, amazing pop. He just stands in the ring. Coffee is kind of pissed off. He gets in the back of the ring. He's like, don't fucking steal my shit. Well, Walter boots him back to the mid card. So Walter done. Here we go. Fuck yeah. I don't care where it is. That match is main event caliber. Walter needs to take the title off Pete Dunne. Megastar immediately. If Walter loses, ooh, I don't know. I don't know about that decision. Pete Dunne's held his title for 600 plus days. Walter is the guy to take it off. And what's funny is of course, I see on Twitter lots of WWE. You can immediately tell like who the WWE only fans are, and they're watching NXT UK take over here, and they're like, "Who the hell's Walter, and why should I give a shit?" Oh, get familiar. So at the end of the day, TakeOver UK Blackpool, it was a good show. I think bottom to the top of the card, it was a good show. Could it have been better? Absolutely. Were there some booking decisions I had problems with? Absolutely. Were there good things that came out of this? Hell yeah, there were as well. It's a good start for for NXT UK. They really need to ramp up building specific stars and building up divisions and stop with the toast booking. That's what drives me nuts about Ring of Honor. I watched Honor Reign Supreme in January. Not even going to talk about it because it was a waste of time. I hope NXT UK doesn't go that route, but I'm very worried for it. But if this TakeOver UK is any indication, at least the takeovers themselves, they're big major shows. Whether that's 1 or 2 a year, 4 years, they'll build it up. Not worried about the major shows themselves. Alrighty. Tell me what you guys think. Comments. Email me. Email's in the description of every episode. I'm sure I'm not alone on this. I'm sure many of you disagree with me. Maybe think Joe Coffey, Pete Dunne was that classic. Bowling JD, Red Leaf Retrocast, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it may be. Hit me up. Tell me your thoughts. Oh, I got the drop here. I just gotta find it. 4. NXT TakeOver Phoenix, boys. Oh my god. Here's the drop.
Yeah, you'll never tear me apart.
Oh my god, boys and girls. NXT TakeOver Phoenix. You know, I don't hate WWE. They just disappoint me so much. But if there's one shining diamond in the coal mine, it's NXT takeovers every year. And TakeOver Phoenix for NXT did not disappoint. I adored the show in sections. There were matches I absolutely loved. And even though I stopped watching NXT TV on a weekly basis, because this is an effort for me to pull away from WWE more, perhaps I will get a different perspective on the matters. I might even enjoy the shows more. That's the hope anyways. They do like having these video packages that fill you in on everything, what you need to know, get hyped for matches. You know, I don't watch a lot of OTT, but when they have a major show, they show a video package. I know what the video package is. You hype that video package up enough, I'm hyped for the match. I know everything. There you go. The first match on the card was the War Raiders, War Machine for our indie fans out there, defeating the Undisputed Era, O'Reilly and Strong. 17-minute tag match. Hot, hot, hot. Oh. There's something about Kyle O'Reilly in these tag matches, and then the workhorse Roderick Strong, like those two in tandem, work so well together. Because this was, as well, that atypical WWE tag match. Just like the Grizzled Young Vets Mustache Mountain match from NXT UK TakeOver. But the difference here is the Undisputed Era have two guys with two completely different styles. So when they do the isolation of the heels, they're doing different things. And it leads to a hot tag on guys doing those different things. So you have O'Reilly's kind of ground martial arts game where he can do limb work and pick parts. Then you have Roderick Strong, who's the workhorse with backbreakers and the such. And I'm glad, being that it was the team of the War Raiders, that the heel isolating the dude thing that WWE loves doing of that formula, and it's a classic formula. I'm saying WWE is the only promotion that does it, they just do it the most. Being that the War Raiders are who they are, two big Viking dudes, they weren't isolated very long. Hanson and Rowe know what they're doing. Their power game mixed in with agile flashes works so well, and this was no exception. I still laugh, however, when people pop for a cartwheel. I don't care how big the guy is. I don't care how out of shape you are. A cartwheel should be easy enough. Even a bad-looking cartwheel. I mean, you're just putting yourself on your hands at the end of the day. Kind of turning. Nonetheless, big pops. War Raiders win the tag titles from the Undisputed Era. Kind of funny because the kind of story there was Undisputed Era. We're going to hold all the titles in NXT. And they immediately lose it, so. Well, how about that? More Junior Kitty, new subscriber or follower over on Mixer. I always love Mixer followers. Welcome to the podcast. Takeover Phoenix. Moving on. War Raiders as tag champs. We'll see what happens. I think the tag division in NXT. I want to see. You know what? Before I move on with the next match, I want to see, because I see this a lot. People say NXT and WWE handles tag teams better than anyone in the world. Well, if that's true, I have my disagreements. But if that's true, I want to see a takeover in 2019 be headlined by the tag team division. I doubt it will happen. Triple H and company love their tag title matches opening shows because they can be so hot. It's fine. But if you want to be serious about pushing tag teams as legit top draws, they need to be in the main event. Progress does that a lot. WXW does it. Hell, New Japan has a whole month-long tournament dedicated to tag teams. Multiple, because they have two tag divisions. Now, whether they're actually featured is another story. But the point is, there is time allotted for tag team wrestling. And that's why I want to see NXT use tag team wrestling as a platform and push it more. Put it in the main event. I'm not saying it should be at TakeOver New York, which is going to be at Mania weekend. But I think it should be at the one after that. So, Riddle versus Cassius Ohno, aka Chris Hero, as our indie fans will love. He makes short work of Ono in 8 minutes via elbow strike stoppage tap out. Hey, Riddle's the MMA guy. Makes sense to me. I'm just glad he didn't kick out a billion finishers that he normally does. It was a quick 8 minutes. It was fine. It served a purpose. I liked Ono's. Ono has a good way of bringing about new moves at new times. That's what he's good at doing, and he did that a few times in this match. So it keeps his matches fresh. More Junior Kitty. Vote Waluigi for wrestling. Yeah, put him in your WWE Fire Pro Wrestling video game. That's the only way he's getting into those. He should be in Smash. He should be in Smash. Hell, he should have his own video game, for Christ's sake. Or at least be a prominent villain. But anyways, getting off topic. I like. I'm not the biggest Matt Riddle, nor am I the biggest Cassius Ohno fan. That's why I can't like totally get into their matches, 1v1, especially against each other. But hey, I can admit when a match did its job. North American title match, mid-card, by the way. It is a mid-card title, I guess. What it should be marketed as. Johnny Gargano defeats former North American champion Ricochet, 24 minutes 33 seconds, to win the North American title. So Johnny Takeover finally wins a match at Takeover. He even had it on his tights, little orange and black going there. Johnny Takeover. This match was awesome. Good special type of match, right up there with the Ospreay Ibushi match from Wrestle Kingdom a couple weeks ago, beginning of the year. Two totally different, both flippy matches. Two totally different stories being told there. What was funny was Gargano and Ricochet even did the same kind of Hurricane Rana anime spot. The difference being Ricochet didn't stand there and kind of look over his shoulder. He just did that whole flip the nose, get the sweat off, yeah, I'm a badass kind of deal. I like that. Johnny Gargano pulled himself up. He's like, what the fuck do I have to do to put this guy down? Because the story here was Ricochet was flipping all over the place. Johnny Gargano tried to do all the chain wrestling sequences he could. Ricochet kept escaping. He kept reversing here. What was Gargano to do to beat Ricochet? The second story here was all he needed was one time to get one over on Ricochet. And what was that? And you can slowly see the gears kind of turning in Gargano's head. Good character work here from Gargano. Maybe I need to accept the darkness in me. That's been kind of the thing. Kind of the story being told with Gargano. Nice little Marvel Universe thing of going to the dark side. Ha ha ha. So excellent stuff. Gargano did finally get one over on Ricochet. He did a brain buster on concrete because he pulled the mat up. Oh, what is happening here? Nose is itchy. I need some more water. Gargano pulls the mat up, does a brain buster on the concrete, does a little slingshot DDT. New champion. Fucking love this match. Johnny Gargano is the guy in my mind in all of WWE right now. Not the man, that's a different person entirely. But Gargano, time and time again, delivers. And I hope he stays in NXT. Next match is Shayna Baszler retains the women's title against Bianca Belair. Nice little 15-minute match. Wasn't much to it at all. I mean, they're two pretty green wrestlers. Bianca Belair being kind of a homegrown talent to an extent. And Baszler, yeah, she did some indie stuff for a while, trained with Io Shirai and Stardom and what have you. But Baszler's been coming into her own. She had a very good, massively improved 2018 as champion. And I didn't even mind the crony run-ins of Shafir and Duke. They're just so super green right now. They really just don't know what they're doing still. Very obvious to me. Probably good that that NXT has two women like Kairi Sane, Hojo, for our Stardom listeners, and Io Shirai in NXT to help them. But let's face it, man, the stars are Io Shirai and Kairi Sane. Those two just... they get wrestling. That's why they showed up in the Women's Royal Rumble. They're so good. They're among the best wrestlers in the world, man or woman. But nah, their job right now is to train the MMA women and probably job out to them in the end. Doesn't make me happy as the fan I am, but WWE sees what they want, and they want those two MMA women to come up. So Shafir and Duke run in. Bianca Belair kind of fights them off, does her little thing. It is getting a little much and the fact that it's consistent in Shayna Baszler's matches, I am not a fan of. I had my issues with the run-in at Evolution, despite it being, you know, kind of part of the story. It made sense and all, but The fact that it just keeps coming. Baszler was made to be this dominant champion. Yeah, she's a heel. Just don't think she needs her cronies to always come in. So I didn't feel like it directly affected the outcome with Belair, even though, you know, that's kind of why she missed a 450 splash, and that led to Baszler, you know, choking her out. And Belair, you know, had her moment to show resistance, so her undefeated streak is over. I think this was good. Bianca Belair definitely looked good. I'm curious to what they're going to do next, because you have Belair now. You have Mia Yim, Hey Jade. You have Shirai. You have Sane. You have Chelsea Green, Candice LeRae. You have 6 women in NXT. They need to build the single stars up rather than constantly having fatal 4-ways, battle royals. Build your stars. They built Bianca Belair quite well to be a challenger, be undefeated. And then her winning the fatal 4-way seemed like a little bit of a stretch there. But, hey. There's stuff to be worried about and stuff to be positive about. Stuff to be real positive about is what happened in the main event of TakeOver Phoenix. Oh my god. I personally don't think this match was better than Gargano Ricochet, but I loved it so much more. Tommaso Ciampa retains the NXT title versus Aleister Black. Match went 26 minutes 30 seconds. I say this on the podcast all the time, that 20-minute mark is so it's like the magic point. You know, magic hour, if you will. That's what makes a singles men's match great. You can reach that with keeping us engaged, then the finish is always so much sweeter. A women's match tends to hit that 15-minute mark, because the endurance, you can see, kind of hits them the longer it goes. And if a women's match goes over the 20, then it relies on a lot of technical wrestling at the beginning, which hinders it if the women aren't capable of that. Because there's still a lot of room for improvement in women's wrestling in the world, and I'll give a great example of that in the next podcast episode when we talk more about Stardom. God, my nose is just driving me nuts. I must have hit something. So anyways, Aleister Black did some of the best limb selling I have seen within WWE in a long time. He did a somersault tope over the top rope, and very subtly, he kind of sold the leg. Okay, maybe that'll come into play later. A good match will definitely come into that. And sure as shit, Ciampa hopped on that. He just worked it, and as the match went on, Black would sell it more and more and more. And it wasn't just an all of a sudden thing, my leg hurts. You know, that's what Seth Rollins does all the time, and it drives me nuts. And the other thing that drives me nuts when people sell limbs is they'll immediately do a move that uses the limb they're selling. Well, Black didn't do any of that in this match. He started using the other leg for the kicks. And you can make an argument it's hard to it's hard to buy it when the plant leg is the one being worked. But what sold it for me was, as the match went on, his plant leg, the one that was being worked, so first he wasn't using it as the strike leg. As the match went on, the plant leg started going out, and his kicks started getting weaker, therefore Ciampa got more offense in. Just played on it the whole time. And yeah, Black would have some flashes of comeback, but Ciampa was the man in this match. Black was the seller. And at the end of the day, Black went for a Black Mass, a spinning heel kick. His plant leg finally gave out on him. That's all it took. He finally lost. I love this match the most out of the whole weekend, including, you can put that in with NXT TakeOver UK. You could put that in with WXW. This was the best match of the podcast. Or no, well, my favorite. I still think Gargano Ricochet was better, but I personally, for my taste, Ciampa Black knocked it out of the sky. It was in the bay out of San Francisco, if you will, for a baseball reference there. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Good job, TakeOver Phoenix. 2 very memorable matches for the stories being told. I think... let me think. I'm wondering what's the plan going forward with the rest of the guys in NXT, because it's a very, very saturated talent pool there. You have Keith Lee, you have Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle seems to be the one being groomed right now over Keith Lee. You have guys coming in, ACH, Trevor Lee. I don't see them doing anything. Interesting. The word is Dragunov comes in. I don't know how that's going to work. His English isn't the best. We'll see. Well, with that, it's time for the Royal Rumble, boys. I think there's only one drop to play. Yes, indeedy. The Royal Rumble is upon us. It's past. Just happened the other day. What a show. What a show. It was fun. It was fun. I was shaking my head at times, hard, and kind of going, oh, WWE, why would you do that? But things made sense at the end of the day. And I can be positive about that. The things I had negatives for will come in time as we talk. But let's start out with the very first match. I'm not covering the pre-show. I don't care about that. But the very first match was Asuka defending her SmackDown Women's title against the man, Becky Lynch herself. 17 minutes. See a pattern here with WWE with their 17-minute openers. Holy crap, I love this match. I loved it. There were a couple sequences where it got a little messy, and that's that whole technical style. Asuka's the best. Becky Lynch, she gets over. She is over. She is weak in her wrestling in areas. However, the character of Becky Lynch is so over, you don't care. And I didn't care. Asuka beats her, makes her tap out to this wild, inverted, bridging version of the Asuka lock. Chicken wing kind of deal. Lynch taps, and she does a cool little thing at the end, character work, where Lynch is like, shit, I gotta figure something out here now, because now I lost. Should Lynch have tapped out clean? I don't mind it so much, because I think this, as opposed to, say, Charlotte interfering or costing her, and that would lead to, say, a future triple threat match, so to say, hint hint. I think that was shown more at TLC. And what needed to be shown here, in this moment, was Asuka beating Lynch the way she did. Because Lynch is over, and she could lose. She could afford to lose. While Asuka was so beaten down character-wise in 2018 after her loss to Charlotte at Mania, and losing to Carmella the way she did, and then going nowhere after that, and then getting a Battle Royal victory, and then winning a triple threat TLC match. Like, nothing was cementing her as the ass kicker that she used to be. And for her to get her character back and be cemented as a star, I use that loosely because we got to see what the fallout is, but she needed to win and beat someone as over as Becky Lynch. So look at that. I agree with booking in WWE. Huh. Pigs can fly. Who knew? What I don't agree with is the next match. That was the In fact, that Miz and Shane, the best tag team in the world, won the SmackDown tag titles versus The Bar. The Bar have now lost to a child and Vince's 50-year-old son. Tag teams! Alrighty. Ronda Rousey defeats Sasha Banks. And, oh man. So, Ronda Rousey, Sasha Banks. I'm very 50-50 on this. Because, on one end, I was like, what the fuck is going on in this match? Because Rousey, I think, looked... oh man. Do I dare say she looked the worst in a pay-per-view singles match yet? Possibly. Sasha Banks and Rousey in this match had fantastic character work going for it, and it had a very good intensity level. And that's very important for matches, and that's why I didn't hate this. What I didn't like was the bits of slop that were involved. Rousey seemed technically off her game. She looked, I don't know whether it was nervous or anything, because Banks was definitely carrying a workload here. You could tell at times Banks was kind of calling the match in sections, being like, no. Rousey's not used, because her match with Alexa Bliss was bad. Her match with Nikki Bella was iffy at best, because it was just 2-on-1 heel stuff. It's the Bellas, so what do you expect? Nia Jax and Charlotte have height and kind of power to them. So when Rousey would do certain moves, the weight was kind of on her side, while Sasha Banks is much smaller, and you could tell that Rousey was expecting a lot more power and help behind a lot of those moves, which Banks just, because of how small she is, and she's not a power game, couldn't handle that as much as Rousey was expecting, and you could tell. So, my favorite moment was definitely when Banks was putting the armbar on the outside and take away Rousey being like she tapped kind of deal away. Banks sold that so well. She tore off the part of her gear that was on that arm. She ended up putting Rousey in a bank statement and using that for leverage, and the ref was like, no, you can't do that. She held it to a 4 count. I love Banks in the ring. Yeah, she pulls off some moves that's above her skill, but at least she tries kind of deal. I look at the positive in that section. Banks does get in-ring work, and she has good cocky heel character work to her. She can be a face and have that kind of cockiness to her. Now, the post-match kind of shaking hands and nonsense, and then Banks, hugging her, I think that happened at one point, and then she finally walks back and puts up the 4 sign for the 4 horsewomen deal. That didn't really flow right to me. Would have gone about it way differently, as in not shaking hands, being a sore loser, putting up the 4, because then before, what they did was, to me, it'd be like, it means nothing because Banks, you did lose clean to Rousey at the end of the day. So, then I read on Raw the next night, Bayley was the next Rousey victim in a horrid singles match. So Bayley got fed. On to the Women's Rumble match. The Women's Rumble match, the way I'm going to do these Rumble matches, I'm going to have my positives and negatives to it, then move on. So, my negatives to the Women's Rumble match was that entire first half was the most slop-filled thing I've seen since the 80s Rumbles. But I thought most of the match in general was also dragging. It was a bit dull. A lot of parts, and that was for both Rumbles, actually. There was a serious lack of a star showing in my eyes. And what I mean by this was, no one stood out during the match, having crisp, memorable moments of dominance, and that's what makes it important for a Rumble to keep your attention. So usually, I'll give you a couple of examples here. A star will hit the ring and decimate people, stands tall for a moment, And the only moment I can think from both Rumbles really was Drew McIntyre beating up the conga line on his way down because they were in his way. Then he hits 3 claymores, bang, bang, bang. Immediately looked like a big deal, right? Now they ruined that by having Dolph Ziggler hit the ring and super kick him out. And then, that's basically, like I used the Vaulter booting Joe Coffey back to the mid card. That's what that told me. And that's a play on the previous podcast where I think Drew McIntyre, he looks strong, and then they do nothing with it. So, back to the Women's Rumble. The positives of the Women's Rumble was definitely the finish. Lynch being inserted into Lana's spot, we kind of all saw that coming. The crowd loved it. I didn't like Lana's sell. We'll get to that in a second. I'll come back to how that all went down. I love the pops for Alexa Bliss coming back, and Bayley got a good pop. The negative to Bliss was she announced she was going to be in the Royal Rumble. Imagine how much bigger the pop would have been if it was a surprise. Huh, go figure, right? So, and even both Bliss and Bayley had a small moment to shine through, but it wasn't enough. Nia Jax has been the story, and I fucking don't get it. She's awful. And it's ring, it's character. She's just a big Samoan. And I just don't, I know why, but I just don't get it from a fan perspective. Right? Nevertheless, Becky Lynch pulls Jax out of the ring, eliminates her. Jax mad, injures Lynch's leg. Lynch kind of oversold it a bit, but she gets in the ring, and Charlotte's in the corner going, oh yeah, I got her. She's smiling. Very good facial expression from Charlotte there. She immediately, ruthlessly goes after the leg, goes for a boot. Lynch gets one over, gets the nice babyface win. The pop was insane. The right person won. I was convinced that they were going to do a double elimination a la Lex Luger, Bret Hart. Maybe that's the too obvious way, but yeah, Lynch. As soon as you saw Lynch was coming out in the match, you knew she was winning, and this was the right choice. Saved the Rumble, honestly. But yeah, okay, let's get to this insertion here. So the story was, on the pre-show, Lana hurt her ankle because of the US title match little spot there. So her ankle hurt, and her music hits at number 28. And she can't get down. Oh no. People are so worried about Lana. Her ankle hurts. Finley's out there. Fellow Irishman. Go figure. That was clearly on purpose. And then Lynch music hits. And she's begging Finley, put me in the match. Do it. Do it now. And Finley's like, okay. And he puts his arm, go in. This could have been, I think, what should have happened. Because to me, this came off to me as Becky Lynch needing permission to be in the match. Right? I don't think she should have done it this way. I think it should have been something comes on the big screen. Lana's backstage, her numbers about to come up, like 26 and 27 are coming out, right? You have little less people, you have the Dana Brooks and someone in those spots. And you have on the screen showing Lana hurt because her number's coming out and she's not going to be able to go out there at all, right? Door gets busted down. Becky Lynch comes in. Put me in the match instead of her place right now. I will not take no for an answer. So you could actually hear what's happening. You would just get crowd reaction going, hell yeah, even bigger than what was going down. The clock's hitting, and before anyone can give her permission, she just goes, oh, I'm going out there, and I'm gonna show you what the man is gonna do. So and you get this Goldberg style camera follow of her in the back going to the dugout. Music hits, she emerges, oh my god, she hits the ring, and then you go about everything the same way. That is how it should have happened. Or something along those lines. I didn't like how it was, oh, look at Lana. Put me in the match, please. Please, Finley. Okay, now I'm going in. No. Break the door down. Put me in the match. Fuck it, I'm not going to wait for your permission. Go in. I think that fits the character better. She comes off as a bigger badass, and she wins the match. And you know they're going to do the triple threat match, because Charlotte was last. She can now legitimately claim that she was never actually, quote-unquote, in the match. So that way you can have Charlotte inserted, immediate heel there again. I'm sure they're going to do that anyways. And then you can have a match of Becky Lynch needing to, you have a number one contender match of some kind, or you build someone up over the next month or so leading up to, say, the Elimination Chamber or something. And you can have a singles match where Becky Lynch has to defend her right for WrestleMania against this opponent, this new person you've built up in the division. An Ember Moon, if you will. An Alexa Bliss. Somebody like that. Hell, even Bayley. Give her some relevance. But she's probably going to be busy in the tag division. So that's my positives and negatives over the Women's Rumble match. At the end of the day, the right person won. Charlotte has a claim to be inserted. So there is, the right thing was done. How it went about it, naturally, I would have booked it different. And then poor Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles went 24 minutes to a dead crowd because fucking Becky Lynch just fucking won the Rumble, bro. I thought the match was okay. It was good. I was into it personally, just because I love these two guys. I love the way they wrestle. The crowd was dead. They were exhausted. I don't blame them at all. Now the finish, on the other hand, what the fuck was this? You want to talk about shaking your head? Eric Rowan waddles down to the ring with his brand new sleeve tattoos. Man, he's tatted up hard now. He looks like he's gained some weight, but we've all gained weight. It was the holidays recently. It's only been a month. So Eric Rowan waddles down to the ring at 22 minutes, and then he stands there for a little while. This was like Hogan's Disciple all over again from WCW. There's an old reference. Ref takes a bump, and you're just like, oh no. Eric Rowan's wearing plaid, by the way. Eric Rowan hits the ring. Face choke slam. Great O'Karn style for our RPW fans. Ref gets up pretty quick. 1, 2, 3. Dan O'Brien wins. I guess we have the Bray Wyatt cult vegan faction now. So whether Bray Wyatt joins or he's in a feud with Dan O'Brien, who knows? It's God, this execution was god awful. I'm all for factions coming back, but god damn it, I've said this in Ring of Honor. You gotta fucking build them. Or make it a pop moment. This was not a pop moment. It was just, Eric Rowan's coming to the ring, okay. Oh god, he did that? It wouldn't be an AJ Styles title match without a fuck finish. How many times are we going to see this? What are we up to, 15? 13 now? US title, WWE title? God. Alright. Finn Balor, the man, against Brock Lesnar for the red belt, not the good one in Stardom, the lame one in WWE. Part-time champion Brock Lesnar. Didn't watch the match. I'm still boycotting. It's over a year now. It was as expected. Lesnar sells his diverticulosis, or however you pronounce it, his stomach injury, because he ran into the table a couple times and sold the piss out of the stomach injury. 8 minutes later, Finn Balor taps out clean. Lesnar beats the piss out of Balor post-match with a bunch of F5s. Next night on Raw, Balor comes out. He's like, yeah, I suck. He was too big and too fast, and I'm not as good as him. Oh, that 2-week Finn Balor push was sure something. Jesus Christ. Brock Lesnar's still champ. Drew McIntyre, no push in the Rumble. Back to square one. What a shock. Alright. Men's Rumble match closes the show, as it should have, I think. Positives. This match flowed so much better than the women's, hands down. Never bored. This one didn't drag. I will say that. What we expected to happen at the end, Seth Rollins wins, challenges Lesnar to the title at Mania. Beast Slayer, I guess, is in full force. The exact same storyline of Roman going for Lesnar, so there you go. Did like the end, though, with the curb stomp on the apron while Strowman was out there. Cool. I thought the Final Four was going to be... You know, my brain said the Final Four was going to be Rollins, Strowman, McIntyre, and... Oh, who was my fourth person? AJ Styles. I thought he would have made it into the Rumble. But alas, I guess only Becky Lynch has that has that ability. But yeah, Rollins wins. No complaints there. Really would have wished he would have chosen someone like Daniel Bryan as his opponent at Mania. You know, give me something new. You know, talk about that fresh start that they laid on us. But nah, it's Beast Slayer. You want a true change? You should have had the Demon fucking Balor come out and beat Lesnar. But yeah, right. What are we thinking? The booking has to match the expectations. The booking has to match the character work. You can't just do this match was okay time and time again. Can't do that. So, now to the negatives for the Men's Rumble. There was a slew, because there were some more shaking your head moments here. The overuse of cheeky eliminations, again in both. They really lack on the rules and logic. You know, all of a sudden you can land on your back, but your feet didn't hit. I mean, come on. You're really stretching my suspension of disbelief on that one. Especially when Kofi clearly... That's like you can be inserted, go over the top rope, land one-footed. That's screaming leg break to me. But you're not eliminated. It's fucking stupid. But hey, they really lack on the rules this year. At least it didn't like factor into the finish of the match. That would have been really annoying. Like, imagine Seth Rollins landed on his back and then just kind of spider crawled to the ring, a la what Kofi Kingston did, or what Casey Canizaro did in the women's Rumble, and then that led to... Oh no, don't do that. I can do it this one year. Don't do it again. I'm very 50-50 on the NXT talent that showed up. Because A, it was great they showed up. We had Gargano, we had Black, we had Rhea Ripley in the Women's Rumble. Great. I love what they're doing here. It's 2 years in a row we've seen the NXT stars in the ring, and they get a good pop. NXT chance, whatever. But there was this thing where they would look strong and then immediately get put down and then tossed out. So the best example was Aleister Black kicks Dean Ambrose's head off with a black mass, and Ambrose flies out of the ring. Fucking awesome. I popped. That's possibly my favorite moment of the night. And then immediately, he's simply clothesline blindside. Corbin tosses his ass out like yesterday's garbage. What the fuck? Have a showdown or something. Like, this is that you have a moment and then you put the moment away with something dumb like that. It doesn't build the star. Mustafa Ali. You keep thinking he's a new star being built, but then Shinsuke's knocked out. Cool, I guess, if you want to build a new star. Not like Shinsuke's a star anymore in my eyes. They ruined him. Then he throws out Joe. Good. Joe's strong, sort of. So Ali is being built, and then, let's get it. Let's. So R-Truth won the Mixed Match Challenge with Carmella. Carmella lasted Final 5. Did she? Yeah, she was Final 5 in the Women's Rumble. I thought she was going to be Final 4 with the way they like her. I don't like her, but WWE does. Some fans like her too. They like the little dance break. I'm shocked there wasn't a dance break in the Women's Rumble, by the way. But, so R-Truth comes out at 30. Before he's like really able to get his groove on in the singing, as he does, Nia fucking Jax hits him from behind, attacks him, takes him out. She doesn't ask for permission, she just hits the ring. So let me get this straight. Badass the man, Becky Lynch, needs permission to enter her Rumble. The Women's Rumble, by the way. Nia Jax, on the other hand, simply just inserts herself. Come on out. I don't have a problem with a woman being in the Men's Rumble. You know, logic-wise, it probably shouldn't really be the thing because now there's a Women's Rumble. And then logic-wise, a man should now be in the Women's Rumble now. That would have been a funny spot of the night. A man kind of gets himself into the Women's Rumble, and the women kind of beat the shit out of him. He might, like, get one move in, but hey, that's intergender wrestling. Can't have that. Or can we? Because Nia Jax hits the ring. She you know, it is cool. She got some moves in. I personally would have liked Charlotte or someone, you know, an actual star to hit the ring and get some eliminations, but no, it's Nia Jax. She got some offense in. She eliminates Mustafa Ali. Oh my god. The obsession continues. This obsession with Nia Jax is dumbfounding because they think she's a big star. Like, I get what you're doing. If you're going to bring in intergender wrestling into a thing, I guess Nia Jax is the right person. I would rather see, like, Charlotte go for the, like, US title or something. That would be, like, true intergender wrestling. I think with the figure 8 leg lock and her movesets, it's believable to me. Not a lot of people are into intergender wrestling, but I guess, you know, Nia Jax getting some offense in is a good way to start. But eliminating Mustafa Ali, of all people, is not the way to do it. Not the way it went down. She tossed him out like he did no work at the beginning of the match, eliminating Shinsuke and Mojo. But thank God, because as soon as she entered the ring, I was like, I want to see someone hit their finisher on her. I gotta see it. I hate Nia Jax. I hate everything she is as a wrestler. She's not good. They're obsessed with her like Baron Corbin. It's beyond me. I know why. Fan of me doesn't. But Rey Mysterio hits a nice little 619. She gets RKO'd. Oh, so sweet. She gets tossed out. That was beautiful. There's a good pause. Another negative is Kurt Angle. What is going on? There wasn't legends in this match, which, you know, okay. But Kurt Angle was your one legend in the match. Well, there was Jeff Jarrett. I don't give a shit. Nor should you. Kurt Angle gets in the spot, and he's seemingly immediately he does one finisher, his angle slam, and then he's just tossed out. What the fuck? And then the very next night on Raw, I read that he just got squashed. So, fuck. You don't treat legends and people that are big deals like this. You don't do that. And then McIntyre was eliminated by a heavily featured Dolph Ziggler, of all people. There's another obsession I just don't get. Very odd to me. Very odd to me. To me, it just, that kick, that super kick out, sent McIntyre back to the back of the line. And now he's back with Baron Corbin, so hey, nothing's changed. But Seth Rollins did win. Becky Lynch wins. Vegan Daniel Bryan is still champion. Asuka looks strong. The Asuka Becky Lynch match was definitely my match of the night. I don't think either of these Rumbles were better than last year's at all. Shinsuke's quick elimination at the start, coming from the person who won the Rumble last year. There's no continuity there. So, positives and negatives of the Rumble. We're on the road to WrestleMania. Let's move on, shall we, guys? Because now it's time. It's time. WCW Thunder. Oh boy, this one's exciting. Alrighty. It's Thunder time, boys, but first we have a 5-star review for the podcast. Thank you so much to Mick_Mike via Ireland iTunes. Thank you so much. He says, 5 stars, amazing. I'm a big fan of wrestling, and I can't always find the time to listen to every episode of every promotion, but I found this podcast, which manages to recap and do a great job of it, everything important to know. This podcast makes me feel like I don't miss out watching any of the promotions and episodes. Great companion in the gym and car drives. Highly recommend this one. Keep it up, guys. Well, thank you, Mick_Mike. And if you would like to leave us a review on iTunes or Stitcher Smart Radio, just head on over, type in Red Leaf Retrocast, leave us a nice little review of any star rating. We will read it on the cast. If you'd like to hit us up on social media, BowlingJD, Red Leaf Retrocast, Twitter, and Instagram. Emails for any questions you'd like to go in, or just use the hashtag Red Leaf Retrocast. You'll be entered into contests, such as the one going on right now for a couple Wrestling Pop figures. And I would love to see what you're subscribed to, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Podbean, whether it's on iTunes. Let me know. Very curious. And with that, WCW Thunder! Oh! It's that time. It's that time again. It's episode 15, the Fallout episode from Spring Stampede 1998. This is April 23rd, 1998, WCW Thunder. Oh. Take a minute, because the hype train's real here. Okay. Coming off the heels of Spring Stampede, we get hyped for Monday Nitro that followed. Well, oh my god. We are going to be recapped all night, because this Nitro that followed Spring Stampede plays such an important role of what we're seeing on Thunder tonight, because we have Goldberg defeats Raven for the US title. Holy shit. And a crazy Bret Hitman Hart heel turn. And Hogan beats newly Spring Stampede Crown Champion Macho Man Randy Savage for the WCW title. What the hell happened on Nitro? Jesus Christ. We have 2 new champions and a heel turn of a major star? My god. I remembered that Nitro, and I still remember that Nitro to this day. I remember that more than pay-per-views, because my favorite wrestler of all time, Bret the Hitman Hart, turned heel and helped motherfucking Hulk Hogan. Ah, the audacity. And Macho Man Randy Savage lost his title the next night. Crazy. So the night starts out with Hulk Hogan coming out with his new title, followed by Bischoff and the Disciple, our Eric Rowan of Daniel Bryan, if you will. Disciple repaints the big gold belt with the spray paint black NWO on it, as is tradition. Hogan then cuts a promo on how he is the man. Quite funny. Bischoff calls Hogan Mr. 6.5 in the last quarter hour. Giant ratings jab there. And as the camera panned away, shows Hogan strutting around the ring doing DX suck it gestures. So we're getting some Monday Night War jabs here on Thursday Night Thunder, of all things. So, first match, Disco Inferno versus TV champ Booker T. Simple, straightforward affair. Booker T gets the win. Cuts to keep showing us a teaser of what went down on the crazy Monday Night Nitro. Next match, Barbarian with Jimmy Hart versus Prince Iaukea. Iaukea, whom lost to Chris Jericho, the Cruiserweight title at Spring Stampede. Can he get one back? Not so much. He gets squashed by a very stiff-legged Barbarian. Pretty lame match. Not good. Not how you build a star. Barbarian is not a star. Next segment. NWO time. We got Big Scott Norton and Buff fucking Bagwell with Vincent versus Lex Luger and Rick Steiner. Kind of continuity here from the ongoing storyline. Steiner brothers kind of going against each other, Luger and Buff Bagwell. The match was okay, and ends via Scott Steiner interference, hitting his own brother with a chair, and then attempts to roll Buff Bagwell onto Steiner for the pin. He wasn't on him at all. So what happened here was, prior to this, Rick Steiner jumped off the middle rope for a bulldog on Buff Bagwell, and instead of falling down, Bagwell like delayed his move, and his neck kind of gets crunched on Rick Steiner's body. And so he jams his neck real hard, and this was the move that severely injured him and caused what's known as spinal shock. So, at first I was like, that was the stupidest pin I've ever seen, and then it became a real thing and a problem. So the end of the match saw no pin made, but the ref counted 3 anyways. A long sequence of nobody really knowing what to do. They didn't know what happened. They don't know what to do. Scott Norton stayed in the ring. Some trainers came down, and on live TV, they have to wait for an ambulance and actual doctor, like real doctors, to arrive at the arena and to move Bagwell. So they did the right thing in not moving him, but they must wait. It's just fascinating because it shows how much not prepared anyone was and how much the standards have changed in wrestling for the better. The doctors and trainer here didn't know what to do. They didn't have the means to do anything at all. The wrestlers are trying to help out with no training. So for an event like this, it was really quite something to witness. They eventually do finally get Bagwell out. They had to keep showing replays, telling the live audience, we're so sorry. We can't do anything. Injuries happen. It's a dangerous business kind of deal. So there you go. They even played almost the entire title match from Nitro during this moment to show Bret Hart interfering, hitting Nash with the title, then pulling the jackknife powerbombed Hogan over the lifeless body of Savage for Hogan to win the belt. Roddy Piper comes down. Bret Hart punches him. Big smirk on his face. I'll never forget this Nitro for the rest of my life, for as long as I live. Crazy. Then we get another replay of Raven winning the US title from Spring Stampede, and how a large camera coup guy cost DDP the title. Turns out, we didn't know this at the time, but this is a wrestler by the name of Horace Boulder. Remember that name? Me neither. We will get to this guy more on the cast. So it's a squash match now of Horace versus some jobber, and the crowd immediately chants boring. Well, luckily DDP hits the ring, diamond cutters everybody in sight, including the ref, and calls out Raven. Raven doesn't come to the ring. So DDP tries to provoke him by saying Raven's leaving just like how he left his sister and mother. So some personal storylines going there. Made up. This continues off their storyline that they know each other very well of their past, because if you remember a few podcasts ago, Raven cut a promo saying how much he knows the real DDP, how much DDP left him behind, kind of deal, like that whole thing. We get to another promo. Macho Man, he's all beaten up and mad. He calls Bret Hart a loser, and he's sick of hearing about Bret Hart. You are the biggest mark of your own publicity that has ever walked the face of the earth. Quite like that. You are #1 on the Macho Man's intergalactic hit list. Oh yeah. Love a Macho Man promo. Funny words, funny lines, yet they make sense. Never gets old to me. Come here, kitty. Yes, we're talking about Macho Man and Bret Hart. It's a good combo, right? Next match, Mike Enos. Remember him? Okay, yeah, me neither. Well, he's against newly crowned U.S. champion Goldberg, and you know the rule. If you don't remember the guy's name, it's a 2-minute squash match. Goldberg's 75-0, defending his title. Well, now make that 76-0. And officially, commentary now, making note of the signs and t-shirts fans are wearing saying, "Who's next?" Something to notice? Main event time. It's Scott Steiner with Vincent. Yeah, Vincent's pulling double duty again as the manager. He's against Sting. This will be a match we'll see quite a lot in WCW. Match was fun until, of course, members of the NWO come down for the DQ. Oh, what a shocker. WCW TV ending with NWO shenanigans at the end. Rick Steiner hits the ring here, though. He chases out Scott. Then the Giant hits the ring to clear the rest of the house. Baby faces stand tall. Crowd actually cheering for once. How about that? We finally broke the month-long streak of WCW Thunders, where trash was thrown into ring. But I had to check. We haven't had a match, a main event match, finish on Thunder since episode 3 on January 22nd. And that was the Giant beating Scott Hall, of all people. So that's 12 straight weeks of a disqualification finish to end Thunder now. Jesus Christ. They wonder why things started going sour. No tag team belts again. No tag teams. We did get the TV title and US title. We did get some fallout of the WCW title itself. On the whole, I would say this night was more about taking in the Monday Nitro that went down and taking that all in. That's what this was about. It wasn't really about the matches going on. Unfortunately, the Buff Bagwell injury took up a lot of time. But, you know, a very mute episode of Thunder itself. It was all about the Monday Nitro. Not too crazy about Macho Man Randy Savage losing the title the very next night. But the Bret Hart heel turn, as was the time everyone's got to join the NWO. We didn't get any answer from Bret Hart. Maybe that'll be the next Nitro or Thunder. Who knows? What's going to happen with Goldberg with the US title? His streak's just starting. It's 76-0 now. Where's DDP and Raven going to go from here? We'll see. We'll see. That's WCW Thunder episode 15. Look forward to 16 in the next cast. I am making an effort for the Red Leaf Retrocast to consistently put out WrestleCast episodes every 2 weeks, the same weeks that the Retro Gaming casts come. You can look forward to that more often. Community shoutouts. Now we're going to end the cast before we get to the wrestler rankings of the podcast. Join the Retro Twitch community by going to twitter.com/RetroTwitchCom. That's COM at the end of Retro Twitch. To join a super chill and fun retro community on Discord. And if you're watching a live stream, you can see the logo there in the corner. I love it. I hope to have a member of the community on the Retro Gaming Podcast soon. You should also join the Anime Radicals community by going to their Twitter, for an all-around anime community. The Red Leaf Retrocast is now proud to be a member of the Conglomeration Anime podcast group of Anime Radicals. We'll be doing a gaming episode here pretty soon of 2019. Super fun. Some shoutouts there. If you go to Instagram at BowlingJD, or Twitter at BowlingJD. Red Leaf Retrocast also comes up and brings up the same one. You can find pinned tweets of episodes that will be being recorded, and you'll get your shout out on the cast. Go ahead on and do that. All you have to do is retweet or like it. Hopefully follow us. Just like these guys. Viva La JD of the Smack It Down podcast, #1 in our hearts, part-time host and full-time host of the Modern Gaming Cast. The PMB Pod, Mogul Squared, Retro Gamer 1987, love that guy, he does good work. Laces or Faces, The Jenny Hendricks Show. It's okay they're with us. Getting a second straight shout out. Prime time. All right, thank you so much for following us. Being a part of the community. And now for our last segment of the Wrestler Rankings as we close out the cast. Just under 3 hours. This was really hard. As we're doing this year, we're doing top 10 women and top 10 men, or top 15 men, rather than our 3 tiers that we did last year, because the landscape has changed. So, starting with the women, working from the bottom up. Number 10, Bianca Belair. Number 9, Shayna Baszler. Number 8, Sasha Banks. We're just putting that match on her back. Number 7, Sarie. Number 6, Ayami Sasamura. Number 5, Melanie Gray. Number 4, Chihiro Hashimoto. Number 3, Millie McKenzie. Number 2, Asuka. And number 1, who else could it fucking be other than Becky Lynch? I don't think it was any question. So this was good. First 2 weeks was a lot of Japanese women wrestlers from like Stardom and the such. And then this podcast episode was a lot of WWE women and Sendai girls. We're getting a good mixture here. The overall table is very tight. 2 podcasts into 2019 for the WrestleCast. And 15 up for the men. 15 Ilya Dragunov. 14 David Starr. 13 Barbaro Cavanario. 12 Absolute Andy, the Eagle himself, making his second straight appearance. Number 11 Ricochet. Number 10 Pete Dunne. Number 9 Pac, for his putting in the work performances. Number 8 Undisputed Era, O'Reilly Strong. You can include Fish in there too. Adam Cole will be kept separately yet again. Number 7 Grizzled Young Veterans, James Drake and Zach Gibson themselves. Number 6 War Raiders, Hanson Rowe. Number 5 Zack Sabre Jr. 4 is Mustache Mountain, Tyler Bate and Trent Seven. 3 Tommaso Goddamn Ciampa. Number 2 Aleister Black himself. And number 1 is Johnny Takeover. Goddamn. And since it's only the beginning of the wrestler rankings, I think you can, if you've paid attention, you can kind of put the numbers together. The top 2 are Pete Dunne and Mustache Mountain because they're ranked 2 in a row. So yeah, how about that, guys? A long solo episode of the Red Leaf WrestleCast, episode 13. Back to the Rumble, or to 13, 23. Oh my God, been a long cast. Join us next time, as we will be discussing a lot more Stardom and Progress, new beginning shows from New Japan. Should be fun. Join us next time. And don't forget to hit us up on all the social medias. Leave us a nice little iTunes review. And that'll do it for the Red Leaf Retrocast, WrestleCast, episode 23. Next time. See ya. Oh, there we go. This one. Take her break. Waluigi number 1. Oh, man. That is funny. Earlier in the chat. Well, thank you to our new subscribers, new followers. Good having you guys. Love doing the episode. Love being on here. Look forward to more. All right, everybody. Stream is ending. See ya.